has taken over the role of the ministry, and we are just overwhelmed as if there is no government. The committee recommends that government provides a total of Uganda shillings 15 billion, specifically for the purpose of minor rehabilitation of broken down boreholes to address the water supply shortages and access in villages across the country. 2, that should be provided for major rehabilitation of broken down boreholes in the 6 deconcentrated regional centers countrywide. Regarding drilling of new boreholes, the committee recommends that government provides a total of Ugandan shillings 30 billion, specifically for drilling of boreholes to increase access to safe water supply in unserved areas. Regarding support to rural water projects, source per village, the committee recommends that additional 50 billion be provided for rural water projects, especially in those areas where you cannot drill boreholes and get water. Regarding service coverage accelerated project, SCAP 100 under the umbrella, the committee recommends that government provides additional 25 billion for project 1532, which has real impact in provision of improved water supply services to the urban poor population countrywide. Regarding Lake Victoria water and sanitation, phase 3, the committee recommends that additional 3 billion be provided for the Lake Victoria water and sanitation project, codenamed 1530 urban water and sanitation component. Regarding development of solar-powered irrigation and water supply systems under Nexus Green, the committee recommends additional 11 billion be provided as counterpart financing requirements for project code 1666. Regarding water and sanitation development facility, the committee recommends that government prioritizes funding and budget allocation to the above project for safe water coverage by providing an additional 55 billion. In regard to Inner Maxon Bay project, the committee recommends that 8.5 billion be provided for this project. In respect to environment and wetland management, which has a lot of unfunded priorities, the committee recommends that Ugandan shillings 29 billion be provided for environment and wetland management for the unfunded priorities. Regarding the climate change department, which is also grossly underfunded, the committee recommends that an additional 10 billion be provided to the climate change department. In respect to gender compliance of the Ministry of Water's ministerial policy statement, the committee recommends that prioritization to address water shortage in water-stressed areas, environmental degradation, and access to sanitation be observed by the ministry. Right Honourable Speaker and Honourable colleagues, I now move to National Water and Sewerage Corporation, which receives a subvention from the ministry. 1. Critical budget requirements under the National Water and Sewerage Corporation for the financial year 2022-2023. The committee recommends that government allocates additional 102.88 billion to National Water and Sewerage Corporation for the above unfunded projects to clear the current outstanding invoices or certificates and ensure that the implementation of ongoing projects is not hampered with. Lack of investment in sewerage network. The committee recommends that the requisite budgeting for evacuation of wastewater from residential and industrial premises be expedited and the implementation of sewerage line connections made. A wastewater management master plan should be developed in all National Water and Sewerage Corporation serviced areas to guide sewerage connections. And finally, that future funding for wastewater treatment plants in cities should include a component for increasing the number of sewerage line connections. Right Honorable Speaker, I move now to National Environment Management Authority. This is another agency that is grossly underfunded, and especially now that we are advancing on oil exploration, but also construction of roads and other infrastructure that require their input. The importance of appropriately funding them cannot be overemphasized. The committee therefore recommends that revenue collections made by NEMA, that the government allocates at least 40 billion for the above critical activities. Regarding gender compliance of NEMA's ministerial policy statement, the committee recommends that NEMA incorporates gender and equity issues in the execution of their mandate with a view of improvement. I move now to National Forestry Authority. Regarding resurveying and marking forest reserve boundaries with concrete pillars, the committee recommends that an additional 2.1 billion be allocated against forest encroachment by opening up the boundaries. 2, that National Forestry Authority puts in place a coordination mechanism for forest management for effective monitoring and protection of biodiversity forests of both the central and local forest reserves in order to ensure increased forest cover. And that elaborate regulatory framework on commercial forest plantations should be put in place, detailing modes of issuance and cancellation of licenses, transfer of interest between parties or entity, reverting interest to government, as well as coexistence. In respect to afforestation and reforestation, the committee recommends that government allocates 6 billion towards the national tree planting campaign. And 2, that government should explore options of carbon trading as a mechanism for encouraging conservation of forests. In respect to raising and supplying commercial exotic tree seedlings, the committee recommends that government allocates 3.11 billion towards raising and supplying commercial exotic tree seedlings. Right Honorable Speaker, I move finally to Uganda National Meteorological Authority. They have over the years also witnessed a lot of budget shortfalls, and the committee recommends that government allocates 11.7 billion to UNIMA for the above unfunded priorities. In conclusion, Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, the committee appreciates the fact that natural resources and environment sector is critical to the reduction of disaster losses, achievement of increased household incomes, and improvement of quality of life of the population. During the presentation of the ministerial policy statements, there was a shared concern that the sector continues to attract very limited funding annually under the various votes, which has made it extremely difficult to attain their respective mandates. The budget strategy for the financial year 2022-2023 will only be achieved if the above institutions are supported in the execution of their mandate. Right Honorable Madam Speaker and honorable members, in light of the above, it is the prayer of this committee that this House adopts its report and approves the budget estimates that incorporate the committee's recommendations for the respective votes for the financial year 2022-2023 as follows. I now summarize, Right Honorable Madam Speaker. Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development. The committee prays that we approve 38.834191 billion for current expenditures. For development, 1.538184.055 trillion for development, making a total of 1.577018,246 trillion for the Ministry of Energy. Petroleum Authority of Uganda, vote 139. We request that this House approves 57.386953 billion for current expenditures and 6.340237 billion for development expenditure, making a total of 63.727190 billion for the Petroleum Authority of Uganda. Ministry of Water and Environment, vote 019. My committee requests that we give them 39.090840 billion for current expenditures and 1.341407,619 trillion for development expenditure, making a total budget request of 1.380498,459 trillion for that ministry. Uganda National Meteorological Authority, vote 019. The committee recommends that we provide 11.099224 billion for their current expenditure and 6.556819 billion for their development expenditure, making a total of 17.656043 billion for their budget in the next financial year. National Environment Management Authority, NEMA, vote 150. The committee requests that this House approves a budget of 15.693153 billion for their current expenditure and 3.250 for their development expenditure, making a total budget request of 18.943153 for the next financial year. Regarding National Forestry Authority, vote 157, the committee requests that we provide 23.589540 billion for their current expenditure and 5.652226 for their development expenditure, making a total budget request of 29.241765 for the next financial year. Madam Speaker, I beg to submit this report and request that this House approves our requests and recommendations as provided. Right Honorable Madam Speaker, I wish also to lay the report and the minutes of the proceedings of the committee in respect to the examination of the ministerial policy statements for the votes that I've already highlighted. Right Honorable Madam Speaker, I beg to lay.
Thank you. You and the report and the minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. We want to thank you so much for your report. And you've had the challenges that the institution has, the recommendations that they have made. Of course, we can't go so much onto the financials because we don't know what the budget ceiling is. We don't know how much was given to them in the last financial year. Let's look at the challenges and see how we forward this to the budget committee that is under Rule 1492 so that it can be reconciled, harmonized, and then brought back to this House. You've had a Minister, do you have anything to say? Honorable Chair, there was something on the tree planting, the campaign for tree planting, where you had 6 billion towards the national tree planting campaign. Does that include also the tree seedlings that they always give to the MPs to take to their constituencies?
Yes, Right Honorable, that includes the tree seedlings that are supposed to be provided to the honorable MPs, but also to institutions like schools, health facilities, so that all areas of the country can get on board in respect to reforestation. But also that also includes the fact that currently the ministry doesn't have any seedlings, so they are going to procure the seedlings from private nurseries so as to enable this process to get started. Meanwhile, in subsequent months, they are going to start on their own nurseries to be able to generate a lot of seedlings for reforestation. Thank you.
Yes. Yes, please.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I don't know whether that also, why I'm seeking clarification is areas which were earmarked for massive planting of trees, like Ebududa, could have also been captured among those that are to be beneficiaries of this. I want to know that.
Yes, Amoro.
Thank you. Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I would like to appreciate the chairman and the team for the wonderful report. The clarification I would like to bring to your attention is that I remember last year we passed a loan for rural electrification programs. And as I talk now, the program is moving on so well, whereby personally I am so happy for it. In my district, Amoro, the program is running on. But from your budget, you budgeted for 250 billion for rural electrification programs. How is it different? Is it different from the money we requested for the other time in terms of loan, or this is another program? Two, I am also happy that you budgeted for 7.1 billion as town water supply. Madam Speaker, currently we have many town councils that are receiving clean water. I am so happy for that. And I pray if we could move to all the trading centers, let Ugandans enjoy clean water. And I'm also happy for the money that you put for the repair of boreholes. Right, Honourable Speaker, many of our people do not have clean sources of water, especially those ones deep in the villages. So let the money be put into proper use. Otherwise, Madam Speaker, the committee's report is so convincing, and I pray the money should be put into proper use. Thank you.
And just to add on what he's talking about the boreholes, I wanted to know how much was given in the last financial year for repair of boreholes. And is it reality on ground that these people repair these boreholes? Because at the end of the day, it is these MPs who are repairing boreholes. So we need to find out, do they repair these boreholes? And if they don't repair, where does that money go? And you're also talking about the water in the towns. What about in the villages? We also need water in the villages. Clean water.
Right,
Yes.
Honourable Speaker, further clarification.
Where? Okay.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I want to thank the committee chairperson for the report, but the issue is the islands. Whereas we are moving power to parishes, we have been singing the islands of Sigulu Islands and then the island district of Vuma. When are we going to have this power? At one time, they are talked of marine cable system, thermal system, and then solar. I want the minister to come out clearly and tell us, whereas we are moving to parishes having power, where are the islands in the program? Also, Right Honourable Speaker, I need the clarification on the Siabona water project. I'm happy they are going to drill boreholes, but those islands, it is very difficult to drill boreholes along Lake Victoria, especially Namaingo South and part of Bukoli Islands. We have had the Siabona water project that was supposed to supply water to Bojiri, Mayuge, and Namaingo. Is there plan for the government to help these people have access to clean water, despite the fact that they are near water, but continue using dirty water. Thank you.
Thank you. Give over.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. We are just emphasizing the need for afforestation and reforestation. There is a need for us to venture into the possibility of financing using the external finances. We have a tendency of leaving the financing for most of the climate-related activities to external organizations. As a committee, we identified that we need to build the capacity of our staff in coming up with bankable proposals, because there are a number of funding options that would venture in. Otherwise, the current budget may not allow us to have all the seedlings that we need. And we are also requesting that when there are budget cuts, let it not go across all the codes. When there are budget cuts, it is good that we sit afresh and decide on some of these priorities. For example, the connection and the connectivity budget and electricity. Everybody is demanding for that. But if you just cut 40% from everything, yet these are priority areas, it is a serious challenge. Otherwise, my chair, thank you so much. We are just worried that the Minister for Environment and actually the whole ministry is not represented here. We are happy with the Minister for Energy. She has always taken our recommendations, and at least we are sure they will always cling in her mind. Thank you.
Christine, I'm happy you can appreciate Dr. Nankabira. She's always here, and she's Dr. Nankabira, thank you so much. And Christine, thank you. The government is represented here, Christine. She's here. She's now Environment and Water. Katesh, Doctor, you will answer later.
Thank you very much.
And before Katesh, you talk, I want to sound this warning. I am not going to entertain any report after today. I am going by the rules that this House made. And let's not start amending rules that will suspend any rule. Let committees present their rules. And as I said before, any mistake that we make in one process affects the other process. We want the budget in this House. We don't want to start making budgets on the 31st May up to like past midnight. Why should we do that? If you don't present your report today, you will present next year. Yes, Katesh.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I just wanted to give information to support my chair and also respond to a colleague. Right Honourable Gilbert Olanya raised the issue of the connectivity budget. I just want to inform the House that last year, this Parliament appropriated 128 billion shillings to REA for rural electrification. That amount was suppressed by 40% by Ministry of Finance for COVID purposes, and it came down to 76 billion. And as at the last 3 quarters, out of the 76, only 40 billion had been released. So you can see the situation we are in, Madam Speaker, that it is no longer enough to sit here and approve the budget if we are not able to control what happens after the budgeting process. And I think that explains why most of us in our constituencies, we have poles which have been standing for many years and they have not been connected. So, Madam Speaker, I want to call upon the House that as we do appropriation, if we identify key priority sectors, we must make sure that the ministry, once the budget has been approved, the releases are done according to the approved budget. Otherwise, we shall continue to have this problem, Madam Speaker. And finally, Madam Speaker, on the issue of water, the concern about boreholes, I think all the MPs, most of us here, we know what we have gone through. But there is an aspect of rural water, and that is why our committee, Madam Speaker, we have recommended a multiple approach for cities, for towns which can be supported by national water, let them be supported. But we have
Right Honourable Speaker, is the Honourable Member in order to begin debating a report for which he is a member and even didn't sign? Is he in order?
Madam Prime Minister is making a clarification. He said he's making a clarification. He's improving on what the chair said.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's important that the ministers, when you come in the House, you listen. I'm giving information to help you as executive follow up our reports. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I submit.
Thank you. Members, as we said before, we are not going to debate these reports. John? Linus?
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
And Ollie Fox.
Is it okay?
Yes.
Yeah,
John.
thank you, Madam Speaker. And let me take this opportunity to congratulate you into that chair. Ever since you came in, I had not done so. And I want to say, Jah bless. It is a point of clarification I'm seeking from my colleague, the chair. It was a nice report given. However, my colleague, the opposition whip, talked about Bududa, the issue of afforestation for the last 13 years, Madam Speaker, is for the whole of Bugisu due to the landslides. I had wanted to hear full clarification and clear information about it. The second issue I wanted to get clarification is about the national water offensive tariff. Madam Speaker, a person in the rural areas in my village pays over 60,000 VAT inclusive, and the president of Uganda at State House Entebbe also pays the same tariff. I have seen my neighboring country, I'm from the border, with segregated tariffs, especially for the rural area, for the rural poor. Possibly that's why most of the taps in the rural areas and the national water are dry. I submit, Madam
Thank
Speaker.
you,
Thank
Linus.
you.
Then Ollie Fox.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I rise to make a very pedestrian presentation. Pedestrian because there are matters that should ordinarily fall within the realm of common sense. If you supply electricity to the villages, you achieve a number of things. Number one, you contribute to modernization. Number two, you will improve on the education possibilities of the kids. Number three, you will protect the environment. This ordinarily should be common sense. I'm trying to find a suitable word, and the only suitable word I can come up with is common sense. And I reckon that common sense is quite prevalent in the minds of our planners. I do not know why we cannot prioritize rural electrification so that we help our people, so that we modernize. You even improve on the nutrition of the people. If they can do refrigeration, they can keep their food fresh for a long time. You improve on their health. You can have vaccines kept in the in the health centers for long periods of time without undermining their efficacy. Right Honorable Speaker, I make a plea to this House that this year we should stand our ground and vote funds for functions like rural electrification. I submit.
Honorable Minister, we really need to find out what is happening with the rural electrification. From the time REA moved away from where it was to the main ministry, I think there is a little bit of a problem. People are saying poles are being planted there, there is no connection, including my village. I have lobbied for power. I am about to start begging. And I'm begging you that please connect power in my place and all the other places that need power. Because we have money for it. And Honorable Mogasha, Minister, you're most welcome. Our condolences towards the loss of your son. As Parliament, we keep praying for you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. For the last 13 years, since 2013, we have the project at Karuma, and the communities were promised CDAP. CDAP, yeah, that is Community Action Plan, Community Development Action Plan. But for all those years, nothing has taken ground, and Parliament has been appropriating these funds, but the monies don't, the funds do not reflect what is on ground. So I'm requesting this time that we should put our foot on ground in Parliament or as Parliament, so that if resources are appropriated for particular projects, the Ministry of Finance must release those funds so that these projects take shape. On the 27th September, our dear Minister visited the plant and promised that this financial year, the CDAP project would have taken shape, but to our dismay, up to today, nothing. So I'm requesting the Ministry to also speed up with these issues so that our communities are also satisfied. Thank you.
Honorable members, as the Honorable Katesh said, there is a problem between an appropriation and release. We do appropriation here, but what is released is not what we have appropriated. And if there are no funds, why don't you communicate to us that there are no funds? You just don't make a blanket ruling and say, we are not giving this amount of money. Honorable Prime Minister, can you help us on that?
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, the issue you have raised is something that has really hit us, and as a country we must also appreciate. Yes, we know what we have gone through, issues to do with COVID. That caused challenges, big challenges between the amount that had been appropriated by Parliament and the release, which is based on availability of funds. But also, Right Honorable Speaker, there is also another challenge of also absorption. These are issues that the Ministry of Finance is grappling with, the different sectors, and I would suggest maybe after passing the budget, let's have time, Right Honorable Speaker, and we have this discussion stretched to a further different level to find solutions together as leaders in this country, to find a solution between appropriation, release and absorption, so that we bring in issues to do with the oversight, but also monitoring and evaluation. I thank you.
Honorable Justin Lumumba, the problem we have, finance wants to take over the power of appropriation. Finance thinks that they are the ones to decide on what should be given to an institution, on how much should be given to an institution, and also on absorption. So they want to take a role of appropriation, releases, and then absorption. So that is where we have a problem as Parliament. And that one, I want to assure you, we are not going to allow. That is the only role we have as Parliament.
That is the only thing we are left with.
Right, Honorable Speaker. That is the work of the Prime Minister, not the Minister of Finance. Because the Minister of Finance, before he releases funds, must do it in consultation with the Prime Minister as the leader of government business in this House. So, Right Honorable Speaker, the Prime Minister is going to do her work because that is part of her work. And that's why you see when funds are released to the different districts, the local governments, the members of Parliament are informed. I think we should even take a step further, that when funds are released, the Minister of Finance comes here and gives an update to Parliament and even explains why there was disparities in the different sectors, so that we move together as a team.
Yes, that's what.
Thank you.
Yeah, that should have been what really happens, but it is the opposite of what is happening now.
Right, Honorable Speaker, the suggestion I'm saying is that our part should improve, but also improve on communication so that everybody stays or works in his or her lane and everybody knows what is happening in the other. But we don't have intentions, right, Honorable Speaker, to usurp the constitutional powers of the Parliament of Uganda. If we do that, then we should do it after explaining so that the people who are responsible know why we have done that and which circumstances. I thank you.
Thank you so much. Members, we've talked a lot about this report, and you want to speak before the Honorable Chair, in the last financial year we had on tree planting, we are talking about climate change. And we should be the ones to show by example. In the last financial year, we had 36 billion on climate change. You've reduced by 7. You may need to explain why you have reduced, whether you've planted enough trees, and if you, actually I expected you to increase, not reduce. Leader of opposition, then leader of opposition.
Madam Chair, I rise to support the committee report. I do chair the Parliamentary Forum on WASH, and therefore I have specific interest in this area. One, I want to support the committee recommendation on the issue of SCAP 100, because you realize that in the urban areas, we are doing badly in terms of clean and safe water. And I want to invite the House to support the committee on this specific recommendation of giving 25 billion towards the SCAP 100 project, so that we realize an increase in the water coverage in the urban centers. Two, Madam Chair, Madam Speaker, the issue of the 40% budget cuts should now first start by biting the Minister of Finance. So I want to move this House to cut the budget of Minister of Finance by 40% this year. In 2022, 2023, find those areas which are doing badly, we put that money there so that they feel the pinch. This House is the one which is mandated to appropriate money. It is not the Minister of Finance, but they are developing, I don't know what to say, ahead. So my opinion is, let us cut 40% of their budget. Let us put it in the areas where we see really their priorities.
The
like
40% cut was because of COVID, to take money to other institutions to help.
That is okay, Madam Chair, Madam Speaker. But this one is because also we have gaps in unfunded priorities in many of the sectors. So I want to remove that 40 from their budget. They should feel it. And they have taken Parliament for granted. How can somebody say they have frozen the budget for travel for Parliament? How can Parliament operate without money for travel? It is our core responsibility to travel and do oversight. How can that happen?
in 2022. Madam Speaker, I want to raise an issue to do with the water stress areas in the country. Would have loved to see in this policy statement that you are undertaking measures to bring a map that shows that these are the areas which are most stressed in terms of water provision. I say so because we tend to be giving water to people who already have water, yet we should be concentrating on giving some water to those who don't have anything at all. I thought that would be very, very important. And likewise, on the issue of the water quality and safety, I thought that it is very important that we test the quality of water. People are drinking water without knowing the quality these days. So you don't know what happens. Madam Speaker, the issue of power connections is a real challenge under Ministry of Energy. In my constituency, Madam Minister, from the power connections you gave me in 2017 or 16, the poles have been standing there. The termites are even working on the poles. They are trying to put them down. There has been no connection, no power, idle and disorderly. So we are losing value totally because we are not mining about utilizing what is already there. So why would we first decide to put money in new investments and then we divert and leave those that are already started on? That's my concern. I beg to move. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Fred, then you.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Allow me to take this opportunity to congratulate you for having gone through the blast furnace of transformation to the speakership seat. And also thank you, Madam Speaker, that much as the winds are strong, you are steering the boat in the right direction. Madam Speaker, if there is any report to be accepted and taken as it is without any deviation, it is this report. Therefore, let me thank Honorable Otara for his able leadership. Madam Speaker, we are all talking about COVID. The standard soap for COVID prevention is washing of the hands. And we don't wash hands with dust. We wash hands with water. And water, we call it a universal solvent. I wish I could be given a chance to carry on a chemistry lecture here. Water is the universal solvent that is standardly accepted as the soap for COVID-19 prevention. But Madam Speaker, allow me to bring it to your attention that up to now, there is money that was budgeted for last financial year just for water projects, which is a standard soap for COVID prevention. It's not yet released. And the projects are going on, Madam Speaker, and we are asking for water. And the money is not yet released from finance. Therefore, this is not going to be, Madam Speaker, Parliament cannot be like we sit here, we budget, we appropriate, and then the ministry doesn't put into consideration what this Parliament has recommended. Therefore, I beg to move, Madam Speaker, for the first time around, let Honorable Otara's report, recommendation and appropriation be put into consideration if we are to provide an efficient solution to the current situation of Uganda. Thank you very much, Madam.
Thank you, Honorable Loom, Leader of Opposition, Minister. As I said yesterday, this is not, we will repeat the debate. Alone?
Yeah, thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Allow me join my colleagues for record purposes for thanking you for assuming that chair as our leader. But Madam Speaker, as you sit there, we have a problem that the whole House is faced with as far as the Ministry of Finance is concerned. It's true that we have COVID. It's true that COVID affected us. And it's true that there are supposed to be changes. But by the time the Ministry of Finance begins making changes right over there and very close to Parliament without any consultation and even taking away our power, Madam Speaker, I think our work should begin from there. Otherwise, the oversight that we are supposed to do, the making of laws, Madam Speaker, if we don't get up and stand on our 2 feet, Madam Speaker, these people have taken us for granted, this ministry. Madam Speaker, mention has been made about the lack of connections. where we have poles but no electricity connection. But I want to go further, Madam Speaker. The rural electrification agency went ahead, did survey in very many parts of this country, including my district, Madam Speaker. The survey was done. In some areas, the poles were put down. Up to now, the people are asking. So I would like to urge this House that is the right time that we make sure that the areas which were surveyed, the areas where poles were put, needs to be connected. And this is the time, Madam Speaker. Then finally, Madam Speaker, we have the social institutions, the health centers, the schools, and educational institutions, Madam Speaker, which do not have power. And Madam Speaker, I think this is the right time again that we make sure that the budget caters for all this. Finally, Madam Speaker, on the issue of water. Where we have boreholes, it is our work as members of Parliament to really take care of repair these. Even during the time of COVID, Madam Speaker, we were the ones left with this role. And yet we do appropriation here. Ministry of Finance is there. I still remember when my district requested for this money, the Prime Minister was talking about absorption. When we requested for this money, the Ministry of Finance delayed until the closure of the financial year was coming to an end. That was when the money was released in 2 weeks' time, Madam Speaker. I think, Madam Speaker, we have been taken for granted. I want to thank you, and it's not going to work. Thank you.
Thank you. I think, Chair, before you really approve money for repair of boreholes, you need to first assess what did the other money do? Did it really repair the boreholes? Because you find in most districts it is the members of Parliament repairing boreholes, yes. And you find that money becomes a cash bonanza for other people. Lob?
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I'd like to appreciate the committee for the work done. Right Honourable Speaker, I have 2 brief issues to bring to the attention of the chairperson and the Honourable Minister. One, that I raised issues with my team regarding what I regarded as inadequacy of the MPS. I thought on key policy issues, the MPS came short. And I would like to invite the Honourable Minister to utilize the remaining space to see whether there is room for her to capture a few issues. One of them is electricity governance. Honourable Speaker, this House is aware that the Umeme concession and the Wenerico concessions are soon expiring. Wenerico in September this year, Umeme in 2025, but in the concession agreement, in the 17th year, which is actually this year, government is supposed to undertake a technical and management study. And there's no provision for finances for this study and any arrangement to migrate from this concession. You know what, Mr. Speaker, when you do not see these when they expected, of course, you get the sense that probably something is amiss in the corridors, and the headwinds around this sector are not really present. I hope we do not get what we hear, that probably something akin to the coffee deal is in the making. We get to hear that there is some smart European company in the corridors wanting to be in succession to Umeme without the involvement of Parliament. But Right Honourable Speaker, key to governance is the fact that the ministry did not indicate, yet the concession says so. This is the 17th year, Right Honourable Speaker and the Minister, and there's no mention of this migration. There's no mention of what to do after the migration of Wenerico in September this year, which is the financial. That's a very huge gap. Secondly, Right Honourable Speaker, we are left to the fact that we're expecting Karuma to be commissioned this year. with an additional 500 megawatts joining the grid, you expect that would have had a comment on the loan repayment for Karuma and the attendant challenges given the electricity sales that are expected to be a bit low because of the cost of electricity. There's no mention of Karuma and the attendant loan repayment and what Herald is for the sector. I thought this was something that should have been really picked at this very stage, expecting Karuma to be coming on the grid sometime this year, unless the minister expects another extension of Karuma. Yet we are 3 years late on this project. Honourable Speaker, I was also expecting that the ministry, now that we passed the electricity bill this month, I thought that the committee would pick some of the issues and demand that assent to it is urgent. Because when I saw lamentations relating to funding electricity, especially ECP, Honourable Speaker, we did commit in the law to form an energy development fund. And the sources are very clear, and in those sources, money is there. I thought the committee would pick this issue and make mention in the report of how ECP is going to be funded, for them to be appearing to be beseeching and begging the minister to make money available. The polls are hanging. A member submitted that the polls are idle and disorderly. So, but the money is there. And I thought they would pick it, and implementation begins immediately. Because this is not money to look around for. Under the Energy Development Fund that we provided in the law, you would demand that the law be assented to very fast as part of the migration to be able to make these challenges handled. Lastly, again, as part of the policy and governance issues, we are providing 113 billion for deemed energy. That money for me is very, very disturbing. It is money for energy available and not consumed. It's just actually money we throw somewhere in a pit. I thought the committee would systematically move and migrate and see that this money reduces by partly quoting the kind of policy discussion we had at the passing of the bill, to make sure that this money for me needs to reduce, because I expect deemed energy to reduce going forward. And therefore, would have this money channeled in ECP instead of actually paying for unused energy. Right, Honourable Speaker, I beg to submit.
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker, and my colleagues. I beg that the record of Parliament captures my congratulations to you for having assented to that important position through a very smooth democratic process of the NRM, where we build consensus. And I want to thank both the opposition and my side for having accepted that you lead us. Secondly, Right Honourable, I sincerely thank you and the entire team of Parliament for the way you have supported my sector. I am less than a year in the ministry. I'll make 1 year in June. But you have been able to process the relevant laws that we need to spur development in my sector in a very short period. And I want to pledge that I will pay back to this august house by doing what is expected of me as Ruth Nankabirwa, Minister of Energy and Mineral Development.
Members, she's going to pay back by connecting power in all your constituencies. The ayes have it.
Thank you very much. In a special way, I want to thank the Committee of Natural Resources. They processed the policy statement having gone to the field. I acknowledge that they have not moved out to benchmark for obvious reasons because of budget suppression, but at least we made sure that we worked together with your office and the committee members. All of them were able to go and see what is happening around us, the projects that we are carrying out, the mega projects, Karuma, those big substations. It helped them to appreciate what we put in the policy statement, and how I wish that we had the time to really listen to all of the MPs who have pertinent issues in their constituencies. But because of time, we have not been able to avail that opportunity. But I want to pledge, Right Honourable, that the 1.5 hours I apportioned to the members of Parliament every day save for Monday is utilized by these members of Parliament to come and interact at Amber House 4th floor. Whether you are on appointment or not, I have been receiving many of you, and I have also received the written submissions because I was concerned about the unfinished programs in your constituencies, where we see poles erected nowhere, or wires are connected but no energy. They are not energized. It will be a shame for me to entertain fresh requests and programs when we still have thorns in our feet. We are expected to conclude those programs. How did these programs come up? It's again us who put pressure on former REA. We go and bench at Kamoch. At least to drop the poles there. At least you erect the poles. Maybe you didn't, you who are in the 11th Parliament have not done that. But this pressure comes when we are moving towards elections. So my team remains with no alternative but to succumb to pressure and drop some poles when we have not worked out the programs to really actualize and do complete implementation. I accepted to own up, and I'll make sure that we conclude those projects. Just to indicate where they are, I have a file. Just say in your village X, there are poles standing, no wire, or there are wires, no transformers. We are in the constituencies, including that of the Speaker. We are doing enhancement, capacity enhancement, by putting transformers in place. I have worked out the credit connection facility with the ADB, which I will be happy to be given an opportunity to present to this August House after presenting to Cabinet, where we will get money. You pay 200,000, and then the other 270 will be a credit which you will pay over like 3 to 5 years. We want to increase connection. But the details of this arrangement can be given after authorization from Cabinet. I will be presenting to Cabinet. On vandalism, again, I want to thank the support. Through this Electricity Amendment Act, you put stringent measures. Some colleagues were complaining that the measures were too harsh. And I want to thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for your guidance on that particular provision, because you reminded us that the vandals must be punished. The Minister of Trade has to regulate the scrap dealers, but we are also working out a system that will have sensors to detect that somebody is approaching a pylon to dismember it. That system is being worked out, and when it's ready, I will always be pleased to submit to members of parliament, because I know you are in this fight together. You have been reporting to me, and I must appreciate for the support that you have given us. On the islands, connectivity to the islands, our policy as government has always been to make all the district headquarters connected. And so for the fresh new districts, it's only Buvuma and Terego, which are not yet connected to the national grid as districts. For Buvuma and the Sigulu Islands, I beg to submit that October 2023, I want to see Buvuma connected. The Marine underground cable is being worked on. We are finalizing with a process of awarding the contract to somebody who is going to connect. But we also have mini grid arrangements like the one we installed in Dorwe, where we are even having IC being manufactured in Dorwe for the fishermen, because I know, you know, IC was being bought from Ginger to be taken to the islands. Now it is being manufactured in Dorwe. So we are having those mini grid arrangements for far, hard to reach islands. We are going to bring on board 10 more islands, but the plan is 45 such mini grids. So my colleague from the island, tell our people that we know that electricity is the answer to total socio-economic transformation. I know we don't have time, I'm just picking a few things. Honorable Fox Odoi, on your pedestrian submission, common sense, yes. But have we failed to plan really? We have planned. I appeared before the committee and I told them that the question I fear whenever we submit for supplementary is as to whether the issue was unforeseeable or unavoidable. So I told my committee I have foreseen everything and I have put them on paper. But I have shortfall of almost 700, is it 700 billion shillings? So that in the future, if I stand up to say I need money for ESCOM, because the money which was put in the budget for ESCOM, in the wisdom of the committee, is being proposed that it is put on CADAP to handle the CADAP project on Karuma. That is the Parliament's wisdom. But it will not stop me from coming on the floor to say ESCOM concession is ending in March 2023. I need money to pay. So they will ask me whether it was not foreseeable. I will say it was, and I planned for it, but money was appropriated to handle another pressing item. So, Honorable Fox Odoi, we have planned, but economy is the economy. If you have half of the money that you wanted in the kitty that we are all yearning, scrambling for, some will get, some will be promised, others will be suppressed. But I think the answer will be for us to make sure that we look at those areas which bring in money into the economy very fast. Thank you for passing the minerals bill. If that bill is followed and implemented, where we will be seeing much more money coming from mineral subsector, then we will be bringing in. Honorable Lop, thank you very much for the support towards socio-economic transformation. We take all your comments and we don't take your support for granted. You mentioned about the need to mention Umeme concession, which is about to end. I know that the concession is ending in 3 years' time. And the Rural Electricity Regulatory Authority is the one regulating Umeme to see how much they have invested. So for me, I had proposed that we begin putting in money so that we reduce on the buyout amount. But in the wisdom of the committee, this was not entertained. But I hope that next financial year, we will see us beginning on handling the preliminaries, so that we are ready come March 2025. I have a paper ready to be presented to Cabinet on umeme. And on Wenereko and others, as we merge the distribution, transmission, generation companies who are going to reorganize the supply industry, electricity supply industry. We are guided by what to put in the ministerial policy statement, but I've taken note that probably some of these things could be put somewhere for members of parliament to follow. Electricity Infrastructure Fund. I fought for this fund, and I sincerely thank you, honorable colleagues, for having accepted. You know, to be there and you don't have money even to do feasibility study, so that investors find you with your feasibility study, you just tell them what you want. It's a shame. But I expect this electricity infrastructure fund to have money that we can use to do things like feasibility studies to reduce on the cost of generation of electricity, which will end us in reducing the end user tariff, because the key cost drivers in the tariff is the money you use in generation, transmission, and distribution. So if you have your own money to handle some of those, then the end user tariff will be reduced. I don't know whether I have left something very pertinent, but...
There's something that somebody from Sebe was raising. He sent me a note, which I think...
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I want to thank the Chair for this very good report. And I felt like I should put my problem forward, since we are with the Minister of Energy. I have listened to the report very well, and I think it's a good one. However, from my area of Sabay region, particularly Kwen, we have a very big problem with the power. When I read on, when I look at the report, and considering the information from Honorable Alanya, when he talked about the rural electrification moving on very well in his constituency, I got shocked. Because for us, we are just reading it on paper, but we have nothing on ground, totally, in the entire region. Sabay region, as per today, is megawatts of power from River Sip. And yet, for us, we only get power maybe in a week. We can only have power for maybe 24 hours. I have never got power in my house whenever I go home. And yet I always go like 2 times in a month. So the entire region has lost hope. We do not have power. We are doing very bad in education because our children cannot study at night. And that is the reason why Sabay is always the last in education. And we're even the last on industrialization. We have no factory, even a mere grinding mill.
Okay.
So good enough. I want the Minister of Energy today to really tell me whether she's aware of these problems in Sabay, offer the power.
At least you're always...
We are really very disappointed that we see power passing us.
At least you're always the best in athletics.
Yeah, but we are also the best in academics. We want to...
Okay, let the minister answer, but also you say you go 2 times in a month.
Yes.
You're supposed to go 4 times in a month. We pay you to go 4 times in a month. Yeah?
Okay, I will improve, Madam
So stop cheating your voters.
Right, Honorable Speaker. Maybe I didn't conclude the policy of electrification from the district, every sub-county, because it's our plan to have community information system at the sub-county. That's where we even see graduates being recruited at sub-county. So every sub-county is supposed to have been connected. I know that we are remaining with a few of them. But now from the sub-county, I'm being really stretched out. We want to see power almost in every village and in every home and at a go. So I want to beg that we are given, my sector is given chance to plan how we are going to move from the sub-county downwards. Remember, we are implementing the parish development model. So there are those parishes which will host the value addition centers, which are going to be a priority. But now the way I found things is either first come, first serve, or depending on the relationship with Nankabirwa, maybe you'll go and ask for one line, which is not sustainable. I am working out a network that will see us getting power to where it is critically needed first. I know that we need power in every home. But what about those value addition centers in your constituencies which do not have power now? Those factories. So after that arrangement, yes, okay.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. And thank you, Right
Honorable members,
Minister.
we have finished 2 hours on this.
Mine is going to be in a summary form, Honorable Speaker. I wanted to give information to the Honorable Minister.
Everything is important. There is nothing that is not important.
I wanted
so
to give information to the Honorable Minister.
Take 2 hours because it is important.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to give information to the Honorable Minister that the NRM government has a policy of putting a school, a secondary school per a constituency, well equipped, per sub-county, a secondary school. Recently, we received a secondary school, we got a secondary school, Blessed High Seed School, well equipped with computers, but without power. Yes. Nakaseke sub-county, Blessed Seed School, well equipped, worth 2 billion, but without power. Honorable Minister, that should be very urgent. Thank you so much.
Honorable Minister, I think that cuts across the whole country. It cuts across the whole country. You need to make sure that these government schools, especially the city schools, have power because they have computers and they cannot work without computers.
Honorable Speaker,
they cannot work without power.
Honorable Speaker, thank you very much.
Including health centers.
Honorable Speaker, my concern is that whereas the committee is looking at deficit budgeting, the minister seems to be in excess surplus budget because the committee has said because of the 40% cut, the budget came from 43 trillion to about 30 trillion, meaning that government did not undertake all these programs. But when the minister comes here to promise to undertake some of these without looking at deficit budgeting, where even the government has done political budgeting from 43 trillion to 47 trillion, when you cut the 43 by 30%, you get 30%. I mean, you got 30 trillion. So what are we budgeting about when we failed to realize the 43 trillion, where we cut 40%, and now we are on 47 trillion, and now the budget committee, our committee on natural resources says we are in a shortfall. If we have this, we shall have this. Now the minister brings in the element of politics to give hope to the members. So can we really have realistic budget for this house, not to promise our voters things that will not come? I thank you.
The realistic budget will come in when we are making the budgets. But what the minister is telling you that we are going to do it.
We are hopeful.
I mean, you must have hope in life. She can't tell you that I can't do it. She's going to do it. What you need to do as Parliament is appropriate money to her ministry. Honorable members, we need to look at issues of rural electricity. We need to look at issues of reduced tariffs, the safety of our transformers as we passed in the bill, electricity fund, like the Lopard said, that we should not continue begging. You should have always fund somewhere that you have to make sure that everybody has power. You have to make sure that there is climate change to reduce what is happening, the global warming. And then we must ensure that we do forest restoration and then rural water provision for all the areas. Honorable Chair and the committee, I want to thank you so much. And the Minister, I want to thank you so much. And how I wish the hopes that you're giving to the members become reality. We are just waiting for a payback from you. I now put a question that a report of the Committee of Environment and Natural Resources be adopted by this House. Those in favor say to the contrary, nay. The ayes have it. Honorable member, thank you so much, and the committee. I now refer the report to the Budget Committee as per Rule 1492 for consolidation, harmonization and reconciliation, and to be presented to this House by the 30th of April of this month. Thank you so much. Gender.
Item 3.2, the report of the Committee on Gender, Labor.
Honorable members, let's use 20 minutes. Remember, we have afternoon sitting. We continue? And when you finish presenting your report, don't go away. Wait for other people to present theirs too. Otal, I've promoted you today, you're a minister. You sit there.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I would like to join the members of Parliament and the women in Uganda to congratulate you upon being the Speaker of the Parliament of Uganda. Congratulations, Right Honourable Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'm here to present the report from the Committee on Gender, Labour and Social Development on the Ministerial Policy Statement and the Budget Estimates for the financial year 2022-2023. Madam Speaker, allow me to lead the honourable members without taking much time, that I implore them to read the introduction and the methodology we used. And before I go straight to number 3, the compliance with legal provision, allow me to lay on table the documents that include the report and the minutes that processed this report, Madam Speaker.
Thank you.
Madam Speaker, we complied with the provisions of the Public Finance Management Act 2015 and 3.1, the compliance with gender and equity under Section 1315G 1 and 2 of the Public Finance Management Act. The ministerial policy statements are accompanied by a certificate issued by the minister responsible for finance in consultation with the Equal Opportunities Commission, certifying that the budget is gender and equity responsive. Madam Speaker, the Equal Opportunities Commission assessed all the ministerial policy statements for all the votes for financial year 2022-23
and found that overall there was a compliance rate of 65.2%. But the committee again observes, Madam Speaker, that the performance indicates a decline of 1.6 percentage points, which is a cause for concern. Another cause for concern is the disparity among the best and worst performing votes. The best 3 complying votes, for example, are the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development with 92% compliance, Ministry of Water and Environment with 82.16%, and Equal Opportunities Commission at 81.16%, while the least performing ones included the Uganda's missions in Belgium, Uganda's mission in Qatar, and Uganda's mission in Malaysia, who are performing at a minimum of 50 to 52%, Madam Speaker. 40% of the proposed budget is distributed among the various programs, and I would like to take the honorable members to the committee observation that while the allocation was welcome, it is important to improve the tool of assessment for gender and equity responsiveness to ensure that beyond the figures, it is possible to track the actual impact regarding the improvement of lives for the marginalized groups. Our recommendation, therefore, Madam Speaker, is that all votes should put in place measures to ensure that there is improvement of their performance with regard to gender and equity responsiveness. B, the Equal Opportunities Commission review the criteria used in assessment for compliance with gender and equity responsiveness to measure the impact of interventions on the lives of all Ugandans, especially the vulnerable persons. Madam Speaker, we equally complied with the National Development Plan, and I would like to implore the members to read on number 3 the compliances as listed. On page number 4, Madam Speaker, the overview of the budget performance for financial year 2021-2022 is summarized in the table below, and the total approved budget for vote 018 for Ministry of Gender, financial year 21-22 was 211.089 billion, and by the end of December 2021, which was half of the financial year, Uganda shillings 184.405 billion had been released, and Uganda shillings 130.256 billion was spent. This represents a budget release performance of 87.4% and a budget expenditure performance of 61.7%. On a pro rata basis, the ministry should have spent 50% of the total budget by the end of December 2021. So this implies that there was an overperformance in both the release and expenditure. However, the percentage of the releases that were actually spent was 70.6%, Madam Speaker, and this was because of the recent supplementary budget as outlined on page 5 of 53.4 billion that was provided in the first quarter of the financial year to cater for COVID-19 emergency responses. Madam Speaker, allow me to request the members to read the physical performance of vote 018, Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development on page 5, and allow me proceed to page 6, where we tackle the vote 124 on Equal Opportunities Commission. Madam Speaker, the budget performance, vote 124 as at end of December 2021, is summarized in the table on page 7, and the total approved budget for vote 124 Equal Opportunities Commission for the financial year 21-22 was 13.272 billion by the end of December 2021, and 6.323 billion had been spent from a release of 6.652 billion. This represents a budget release performance of 50.1 and a budget expenditure performance of 47.6%. On a pro rata basis, the Commission should have spent 50% of the total budget by end of December 2021. The Commission's performance was normal since it spent nearly half of their budget during the period under review. Their physical performance is below. Madam Speaker, allow me to request the honorable members to go through them. Their physical performance list, and allow me to take you to page number 10, Madam Speaker. On page number 10, Madam Speaker, the budget allocations for financial year 2022-23, vote 018, Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. The budget allocations for financial year 22-23 by programs are listed in the table, and the ministry contributes to 3 programs of NDP3 as indicated in the table above. The total approved budget for vote 018, Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development for financial year 21-22 was 211.006 billion, of which 27.9 billion was for community mobilization and mindset change, 178.09 billion was for human capital development, and 4.98 billion was for governance and security. In the proposed budget for the coming financial year 2022-23, a total of 180.84 billion had been allocated for the ministry, and 27.84 billion for community mobilization and mindset change, 148.202 billion allocated for human capital development, and 4.98 billion allocated for governance and security. The overall budget ceiling of the ministry has been reduced by 29.77 billion, which represents a percentage reduction of 14.14%. It should be noted that during consideration of the National Budget Framework Paper in January 2022, the ministry had been allocated a total budget of 210.61 billion. Madam Speaker, the vote for Equal Opportunities Commission for the financial year 22-23 is as summarized in the table. Allow me to move the members to page 12. And the total approved budget for the Commission in financial year 21-22 was 13.272 billion, of which 2.967 billion was for wage, 9.945 billion was for non-wage recurrent, and 0.360 billion was for development expenditure. In the proposed budget for the coming financial year 22-23, a total of 14.101 billion has been provided, of which 2.967 is for wage, 10.918 is for non-wage recurrent, and 0.216 for development expenditure. The allocation to the Commission budget has increased slightly by 6%, and this is attributed to the non-wage category, which increased by 10%. However, the development budget was slashed by 40%. In the medium term, the Commission budget is projected to remain constant at 14.101 billion. Observations and recommendations, Madam Speaker. Under the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, we have 611 under funding of Uganda Women Empowerment Project. UWEP, Madam Speaker, was established in 2016 as an affirmative action revolving fund with goal of empowering Uganda women to improve their income levels and their participation and contribution to economic development. The project targets women in the age bracket of 18.79 years, and the beneficiaries include unemployed women, women with disabilities, and other vulnerable women. The project has benefited 16,542 across the country and 191,476 women to date. The project has an impressive recovery rate of 72.8%, which is the highest among all the poverty alleviation projects in the country. Madam Speaker, even this was compromised by the COVID-19, otherwise it was 81.3 before COVID, the recovery rate. A total of 29.02 billion out of the UWEP budget of 32 billion has been reallocated from the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development to the Parish Development Model, leaving a balance of 2.98 billion for only secretarial operations and just salaries for staff. This stops the program, and it will not only put the lives of women at risk, but will also make it impossible to recover the money already in circulation. Because, Madam Speaker, the Secretariat requires money for operations in order to recover the 127 billion that is still circulated in the women groups throughout the country. Whereas special interest groups are allocated funds in the parish development model, the bulk of the funds are aimed at agricultural enterprises, and yet the vast majority of women in Uganda have limited access to factors of production, especially land, and would therefore not benefit from the PDM as much as they do from UEP. Moreover, the COVID-19 pandemic has negatively impacted on the economy, and many informal businesses collapsed. As a result, the demand for the funds by women is growing even bigger. The committee is cognizant of the Cabinet resolution via Minute number 110 CCT 2022 on 28th March 2022, where His Excellency the President directed the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development to allocate the 34.7 billion from the recovery account to the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development to be replowed back into revolving fund for Youth Livelihood Program and UEP. Madam Speaker, this 34.7 billion has been lying on the recovery account as recovered from ILP and UEP, and the Ministry could not access it because of the threats that were coming from the Ministry of Finance to scrap UEP and only promote PDM. Madam Speaker, this of course gives hope for the continuation of UEP and YLP. However, Madam Speaker and the House, Ministry of Finance wants UEP to use the meager 2.98 that is meant for the salary for the Secretariat staff to also recover the remaining outstanding on YLP, which is going to be very difficult. YLP equally has staff, but no money is provided for them. But Ministry advises that UEP staff, on the salary that has been allocated, they also recover YLP, and this is going to be quite difficult, Madam Speaker. The recommendation of the committee is an additional provision of 2.1 billion be allocated to the Ministry of Gender for operations for Uganda Women Empowerment Project to enable it carry out activities to recover the money given out that is still in the groups. B, Uganda shillings 3.3 billion be allocated to the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development for the operations of the Secretariat of the Youth Livelihood Program to pursue the recoveries. C, both projects be allowed, as it were before, to utilize 10% of the recovered funds for the Secretariat operations for the respective projects in order to run as per their roles to recover and revolve the funds. Madam Speaker, we think that this will not shake the fund because as they recover and revolve, 10% would be used very effectively to operate.
Honorable Betty, the report being read is yours.
Madam Speaker, 6.1.2, minimal allocation for community mobilization and mindset change under parish development model. Madam Speaker, community mobilization and mindset change is a mandate of the Ministry of Gender and is therefore the lead agency of the pillar number 5 of the parish development model. The pillar seeks to enhance effective mobilization of households and communities for socio-economic transformation and implementation of cross-cutting issues. However, the committee notes that the Ministry was allocated a meager 1 billion for this pillar under the PDM out of the budgeted 18 billion, leaving a funding gap of 17 billion. This is worrying, given that the PDM is new and there is need for people to get to know about it. And also the committee notes that there is need for massive awareness about the program, given the amount of money that is going to be sunk into it and the impact it should have on the target populations. Moreover, lessons from other projects indicate that mobilization and mindset change are key for the successful implementation of government projects, especially those aimed at poverty alleviation. Our recommendation, Madam Speaker, is that the committee that at least an additional 9 billion be allocated to the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development for community mobilization and mindset change under the parish development model. 6.1.3, inadequate provision for the social assistance grants for empowerment, SAGE. The committee observes that SAGE program has been operational since 2010. Cabinet announced a national rollout of the program to cover all older persons aged 80 years and above across the country in 2018-2019. The grant is faced with three significant challenges, Madam Speaker. First, in the financial year 2022-23, in order to pay all beneficiaries a total of 146.7 billion is required. However, the funds provided amount to only 120.7 billion, leaving a shortfall of 26.9, and the same shortfall was experienced in the current financial year running, but was covered by development partners. Secondly, there are arrears amounting to 36.2 billion to date, out of which a provision of only 14.4 billion has been made, leaving a funding gap of 21.6 billion, which is required to cover the arrears for 270,203 beneficiaries that did not receive remittances in the fourth quarter of the financial year 2020-2021 due to inadequate funds on the side of government, not on the side of development partners. And Madam Speaker, protect me, the clerk is disorienting me. Thirdly, while the deficit during the current financial year was covered by development partners, these...
Honorable Chair, kindly summarize.
Madam Speaker, I have a few things. And while the deficit during the current financial year was covered by development partners, these will cease to support the program in June 2022. This therefore leaves the funding of the program to jeopardy, and arrears are likely to continue. The budget shortfalls of the program continue to impede the effective running of the program and the general welfare of the beneficiaries of this program, Madam Speaker. The committee further observes that the lack of national social protection strategy continues to hinder coordinated planning and eventual financing and interventions for social protection in the country. A recommendation, Madam Speaker, that 21.6 billion be provided in the financial year 2022-23 to cover arrears for 270,203 beneficiaries that did not receive their remittances in the fourth quarter of the financial year 2021. 2, 26.9 be provided to cover the shortfall to ensure that all the beneficiaries aged 80 and above are covered. 3, the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development provides to this Parliament a statement of assurance on the sustainability of SAGE program after the withdrawal of the funding partners in June 2022. And 4, that the government put in place a national social protection strategy that will take us to legislations on social protection, since we already have a running national social protection policy. 6.1.4, green jobs and fair labor markets. Madam Speaker, the Green Jobs and Fair Labor Market Program seeks to provide solutions to the problem of youth unemployment in the country, especially those in the informal sector, which contribute more than half of the country's GDP. The program also helps these youth groups to transit from the informal to the formal service sector with business startup kits, with equipment and green technology, and helping them to manage the transition. Given COVID-19 pandemic and its impact, the program is critical in helping the youth gain employment and transition to the formal service sector. Madam Speaker, this is in line with result 6.1 of NDP 3, which aims to reduce the informal sector from 51% in 2018-19 to 45% in 24-25. To date, 277 informal sector Juakali groups comprising of 6,164 members, mostly from Greater Kampala Metropolitan and Busoga regions, have benefited from the program, and there is need to roll it out to benefit all the regions of the country. This should be a welcome development given the impact of COVID-19, and in order for us to roll it out to all parts of the country, we would actually have required 50 billion, but at present only 2.9 billion is provided in the budget, leaving a huge funding deficit of 49.1. Our recommendation, Madam Speaker, if we have to phase the rollout, is that 10 billion at least be allocated to the Ministry of Gender to start a phased rollout of the green jobs and fair labor market programs throughout the country. Apprenticeship and graduate volunteer scheme. Madam Speaker, in 2018, Cabinet approved the Uganda National Apprenticeship Framework under Minute 358 CT 2018. The Ministry was then directed to urgently design and implement apprenticeship scheme in the key sectors of the economy. The Ministry kickstarted the scheme to develop employability, self-employment and labor productivity, enhancement opportunities of the youth. Annually, the scheme targets 3,500 youth. The Ministry has so far placed 235 graduate volunteers and 100 apprentices in workplaces in manufacturing and service sectors with support from UNDP and ILO, respectively. The graduate volunteers have gained relevant employability skills required in the labor market, and more than 73% have so far gained formal employment. Madam Speaker, there is no provision for the scheme in the proposed budget, and this threatens to halt the scheme, and yet it has the potential to help alleviate the challenge of unemployment for the graduate youths. Our recommendation is that 5 billion be allocated to the Ministry of Gender so that they can continue and expand the National Apprenticeship and Graduate Volunteer Scheme. 6.16 under funding for the Uganda National Cultural Center and Creative Arts. The creative arts industry is one of the sectors of the economy that remained closed long after the rest of the economy emerged from the lockdown imposed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The industry presents a huge opportunity to curb unemployment problem in the country, especially for the young people, and is a potential revenue earner and strategic community mobilization tool. The UNCC is a subvention under Ministry of Gender. The center is critical to revitalizing creative arts sector. However, it is critically underfunded. Financial year 2020-21, the UNCC was appropriated a wage bill of 2.34 billion, and this was enough to cover only staff salaries, gratuity, and statutory obligations. However, 21-22, the wage bill was now reduced to 1.57 billion, creating arrears of 770 million. The center also requires 30 billion to establish regional studios to help artists from various parts of the country, and also carry out a feasibility study for the land redevelopment at UNCC. Our recommendation, Madam Speaker, is for the committee this House to avail 33.57 billion to Uganda National Cultural Center to establish regional recording studios throughout the country, cover the shortfall in salaries, clear areas for statutory obligations, and carry out a feasibility study for the redevelopment of the premises. Budget enhancement for special interest groups, councils. Committee observed that councils of special interest groups have countrywide structures, actually up to the doorstep, Madam Speaker. However, the councils require funding to enable them operate effectively and reach out to their structures and constituents. Failure to fund these councils impedes on their efficiency and makes it difficult for their constituents to engage in national programs. The National Youth Council was allocated 2.07 billion out of the required 4.07, leaving a funding gap of 2 billion. As a result of the funding deficit, the council is unable to hold vital meetings or undertake training and sensitization of the youth throughout the country. The National Council for Older Persons, on the other hand, is allocated 700 million annually out of a required 2 billion, making it difficult for them to effectively mobilize the older persons structures throughout the country. It is especially critical for the National Council for Older Persons, which is relatively new. Moreover, when His Excellency directed on the Day of the Older Persons an increment of 3 billion to each of the statutory councils and a provision of 800 million to the National Youth Council to organize annual youth conferences. A recommendation, Madam Speaker, is that 2 billion and also 1.3 billion, respectively, be allocated to the National Youth Council and National Council for Older Persons to enable them effectively execute their mandate. B, that 15 billion be allocated to all the statutory councils in fulfillment of the pledge by His Excellency the President. 6.1.8, funding for interventions to address challenge of street children. Madam Speaker, the committee observes that street children abound in all urban centers, cities and towns. throughout the country and represent a serious challenge to the development of this country, especially given that the majority of Ugandan population is made up of the young people. The committee notes with concern that while there have been numerous attempts to address this challenge, not enough has been done, and particularly there has been insufficient funding. In July 2019, Parliament appropriated 3.4 billion to support efforts to get children off the streets by addressing the root causes and the push factors, and to provide for rehabilitation services to children resettled. Out of that money, only 1 billion was released. The committee observes that there is need for funds to establish and improve transit centers to receive and rehabilitate the children on the streets, support districts and urban authorities to withdraw, rehabilitate, and resettle the children, ensure all livelihood programs prioritize more vulnerable households as a mechanism of minimizing street children phenomenon, among other interventions. Our recommendation, Madam Speaker, is for 3 billion to be allocated to the Ministry of Gender to address the problem of street children in urban and city centers in the country. Funding for GBV, there has been an increase in the number of gender-based violence by 29% as a result of COVID-19 pandemic and the resultant lockdown, as noted in the annual crime report 2020. There is therefore need to address the causes of the violence and to provide remedies for the victims and those at risk. While there are centers in some districts in the country, these centers are established and operated by civil society organizations who depend on foreign donors, and they are only reception centers, Madam Speaker. They are not violence shelters. This has made them susceptible to uncertainty, and some of them closed during the lockdowns, compounding the problem of the victims. There are 18 shelters throughout the country, and yet, going by the annual crime report, the vice of GBV is increasing across the country. The shelters are also inadequate, that they do not have the requisite services such as psychosocial support and skilling and training for victims, which would go a long way in empowering them and offering a second chance for the future. It is important for the Ministry to establish and equip these centers in all districts, starting with regional centers. Due to the increase in GBV and that of teenage pregnancies during COVID lockdown, an astonishing number of teenagers became pregnant, and an overwhelming majority have dropped out of the formal education. Ministry intends to place these children in the children's homes and reception centers, while the teenage mothers are skilled and alternative formal skills supported with startup capital. However, no funds are provided for this in the financial year 22-23. Our recommendation, Madam Speaker, the committee recommends that the ministry be allocated 10 billion to start a phased establishment of regional gender-based violence shelters in Uganda. And of course, Madam Speaker, we would like to even implore the ministry to interrogate and review the GBV Act to find out whether it effectively addresses the current challenges of GBV. Since 2010, things could have changed. 6.110, the renovation of the rehabilitation centers for persons with disabilities. Madam Speaker, there are 5 vocational rehabilitation centers for PWDs in Uganda. These centers should play a critical role in imparting skills to the PWDs to help them earn a living, since it is, on average, much harder for them to get employment because of the stereotypes and discrimination that they face in society. However, all the 5 rehabilitation centers, with the exception of Ruti, which is in Imbarara, are in a deplorable state, with many of them roofed with asbestos, filled up pit latrines. In their current state, Madam Speaker, these centers are not habitable. It is important for these centers to be refurbished and retooled to make them serve the purpose for which they had been established. The recommendation, Madam Speaker, is that 10 billion be allocated to the ministry to enable them renovate and retool these rehabilitation centers. The industrial court and access to labor justice. While strides have been made in establishing interventions in the direction of creating jobs for various segments of society, including youth and women, little has been done in ensuring that there is adequate provision for employer-employee relations, which has given rise to an increase in labor complaints and, of course, industrial actions. COVID-19 pandemic made matters worse, and the ministry registered an excess of 20,000 labor complaints and disputes unresolved. The absence of a clear system to resolve labor disputes attracts industrial action, destruction of property, and loss of man-hours. This leads to exploitation and violation of human rights and impedes economic development. The coming into force of the Labor Disputes Arbitration and Settlement Amendment Act 2021 expanded the mandate of the Industrial Court and granted it the status of a High Court, provided with 3 more judges, registrars, and panelists, as well as other staff of the court. This requires 8 billion in the financial year 22-23, which has not been provided, Madam Speaker. The committee recommends 8 billion be allocated to the ministry to establish structures and infrastructure of the industrial court across the country. Equal Opportunities Commission, enhancement of the budget of the Equal Opportunities Commission. Madam Speaker, our recommendation is for 6.8 billion to be allocated to Equal Opportunities Commission to recruit more staff, undertake research and report on equal opportunities, and conduct tribunal hearings. Madam Speaker, governance challenges at the Commission. The committee notes that 7 of the staff of the Commission, that is the Equal Opportunities Commission, including the former secretary, that were interdicted and have not been reinstated. The committee was informed that matters of 6 of the 7 staff are ongoing. The committee was further informed that the former secretary wrote to the Commission indicating that the DPP had dropped charges against him and was requesting to be reinstated. The committee was further informed that the Commission wrote to the Attorney General seeking for guidance on how to proceed and was still waiting for the response. In the meantime, the Commission assigned an acting secretary. Madam Speaker, our recommendation is for the committee, our recommendation is for the Office of the Attorney General to expedite the legal opinion regarding former Secretary of Equal Opportunities Commission so that a substantive secretary is appointed. Conclusion, Madam Speaker, Right Honourable Speaker and Honourable Members, social development is a key component in attaining the goal of NDP 3, which is to increase average household income and improve the quality of life of Ugandans. The votes under the purview of the committee have a mandate that includes everyone: women, youth, children, workers, people with disabilities, older persons, and other marginalized and vulnerable persons. There are numerous projects and activities which are well thought out and go a long way in attaining virtually all the sustainable development goals. If implemented, these projects and activities can go a long way in transforming this country. Whereas this is the case, underfunding threatens most of the critical projects and activities. It is the hope of the committee that the House provides the additional resources as indicated in the committee recommendations. Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the report, the recommendations of the committee, and the appropriations of the votes herein contained be taken and adopted by this House. I beg to move, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable members, you've heard what the Chair is saying. This is Gender, Labour and Social Development, and we are going to refer this to the Committee of Budget as per Rule 149, and the matters are basically on gender and equity responsiveness. The WEP, we need an increase in the money for women, and you cannot scrap money from WEP to Parish Development Model. That one is a no-go area. Women need their money. Because if you're talking about it, Parish Development Model, not all the women will be in those circles. For us to want our money as women, we are comfortable the way we have been using it, and the issue of labor exploitation, Madam Honorable Minister, you need to look at it. Yesterday we talked about amendment of the labor laws to include the missions abroad, that the people who are going to a particular country must first report to the mission. And we must have labor officers deployed in the missions abroad. That is what was discussed yesterday. And the issue of youth unemployment. You know, you have so many people in the streets there because of unemployment. So if you can have an affirmative action for them, it would really help them, like what you have for the women. You need to have these youth have something to do. And the SAGE, most of these people have now died without getting their money. First of all, it is very little. And on top of that, you don't give them. So you need a solution to that effect. And most important, I know you're in the team of the parish development model. Never take our money as women. First of all, women are the responsible people in a family. They run the families. And if you look at the payment rate, 72.8% is very high. Remember, you're learning as a man, and we are paying you back. So you need to add on the UWEP than removing it. Clerk, I want you to capture all the reports and have them in the Hansard. I am not going to allow a debate. Minister, can you give us?
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, as the Sector Minister, I made a strong case.
Honourable Minister, just a minute, there's a shadow who wants to make a presentation, then you respond all.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. I join other colleagues to congratulating you. I've never. Congratulations, Right Honourable Speaker. I'm here to interest members to support this report. First of all, this ministry houses most of the programs for the vulnerable people. I must let you members that however much the ministry could not have done the visibility aspect, the awareness for these programs are very paramount for our people and need your support. But Right Honourable Speaker, I need to highlight on a few things. For example, on the SAGE, we have a challenge that most of the funders are pulling out. And the government, much as we have arrears for the 8 months, hasn't come out to stipulate how we are going to sustain this program. We are yearning for the arrears, but the program itself is likely to fade out because the funders are pulling out. We need a sustainability approach plan, how we are going to sustain this program. I think, Right Honourable Speaker and Honourable colleagues, it's the time that we work on the minimum wage bill. Right Honourable Speaker, many of the workers are manipulated at their workplaces, and it is this institution that has to put order to stop such manipulations. So the minimum wage bill is paramount at this moment. As recorded in our report, this is one of the programs that the ministry that has been performing so perfectly in development, the UWEP. If we are replacing it, care of the parish model, we are being very unfair to the women of this country. Much as we welcome the parish model, we must not forget that all programs that have been perfecting and working well for the vulnerable people must be retained. Our role must be on, to look for the budgets, how we can sustain them, but not to phase them out, care of the development parish model that we haven't even experimented. Lastly, Right Honorable Speaker, let me talk about my sector that I understand very well, the art and culture. I'm the Shadow Minister for Arts and Culture, Right Honorable Speaker. And I must thank government for taking care of the cultural leaders and cultural institutions. But we also have the creative arts. Government has for so long neglected this sector, yet this sector houses most of the youth. So if we are to work on the unemployment problem, let us champion, let us advocate, let us finance, let us empower the art sector. There are lots of challenges, Right Honorable Speaker. Even as we talk, the late Speaker championed the copyright law bill. It is this August House to respect his will and take on artists, Right Honorable Speaker.
Which bill?
The copyright law bill.
Copyright bill, okay.
2006. So, Right Honorable Speaker, we need to invest in the art sector because this sector houses most of the youth who are a problem to this nation. Information.
Honorable Minister.
So, Right Honorable Speaker, in that regard, I beg to encourage the committee members for the budget and this entire House to support the gender budget as proposed. I beg to submit.
Thank you very much, Shadow Minister. Right Honorable Speaker, I stated earlier that as Ministry of Gender, we made the justification for retention of WEP extensively in all the forums that we sit in. We held several meetings with finance, and we presented equally in cabinet, but the decision of cabinet was that the 32 billion under WEP be removed and merged under parish development model. In the first budget allocation, we had that money retained, but in the second budget call circular, it was removed by finance. And so if this House feels that the 32 billion should be retained, then the recommendation of the committee should be amended and it captures the 32 billion. The only thing I managed to succeed.
Honorable members, can we have the Minister of Finance come and explain why he had to remove the 32 billion? Can the Minister come and explain to this House?
Thank you, Right Honorable. The only thing which I managed to argue and successfully got back under YLP and WEP is the money that has been collected or recovered from the beneficiaries, the loans that have been repaid. And if you recall, this appeared in the Auditor General's report that money totaling 34,115 was in the Bank of Uganda, recovered, and has not been reappropriated back to the ministry. That one I managed to present to Cabinet, and His Excellency the President directed that we replow it back to the two programs. However, even if we replow that money back, youth livelihood program does not have money to run its secretariat. So I have been directed by Cabinet to merge the structure of youth livelihood program, or WEP, and have a lean structure of both, adding on to the roles of parish development model, and the two programs will work hand in hand to recover money that have already been loaned and revolve the ones that have been recovered. Therefore, it will be important. Should I accept that clarification?
Recovery is very
No,
important.
that is a very serious issue.
Yes,
How do you take away your recover? You only know you're recovering the money to be absorbed by another sector.
Yes,
That
thank you,
is
Right Honourable
wrong.
Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, on the recovery, right now the ministry is budgeting 2.1 billion for the recovery of OWEP. Madam Speaker, OWEP was being supervised by the community development officers. And the community development officers are the employees of the government. They are being paid every month. And right now the ministry is budgeting 2.1 billion to help in the recovery. Why is that so, Madam Speaker?
Why the operational cost of the 2 point?
Exactly. And to Madam Speaker, on the youth livelihood program, on the secretariat running, the ministry is budgeting 3.3 billion to run the secretariat on the livelihood, on the youth livelihood program. Madam Speaker, the livelihood youth program is the program being run by the district. And we have the district employees who are running this program. And right now, the ministry is budgeting 3.3 billion just to help the secretariat. Madam Speaker, we are not understanding all this money that you are budgeting for. That's the clarification I want to.
And if you are to give out that money to the women, how many women would benefit out of it? Let's first hear from Dorcas, then you respond.
Yeah, thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I would like to seek clarification from the Honourable Minister. While we propose about 3.3 billion to have the Secretariat for YLP, but we know that when we want to merge YLP together with UWEP, the recovery rate for YLP has been extremely low overall, all over the country. I don't think when we moved around to the districts, we found any district which had information that was showing that YLP was performing very well. However, for UWEP, if I pick on, for example, Agago district, it had the recovery rate, I think one of the highest that we saw in northern Uganda, 96.6%. So why do we go ahead to dilute UWEP, which is performing so well, with YLP, when we don't have success stories from YLP? Isn't that something which is going to demoralize the women? And then the aspect of merging it under PDM. I don't think with the parish development model, we don't have any benchmarking. We don't even have any piloting where we learned from that we are going to say ABCD worked very well, that we are picking and bringing it to ensure that the women will benefit under the PDM. So we strongly request let UWEP remain the way it has been so that the women can benefit. I thank you.
And remember, there was going to be the laying of the policy and the regulations of the parish development model. This house doesn't know even anything about the parish development model. We don't know. You're pushing us into what we don't understand. Make us understand the parish development model. For you've kept it within yourselves in cabinet. You've kept it within yourselves. We are the representatives of the people. We need to explain to our people what it means. Now, you want the parish development model to fail like other programs? and then you'll start blaming government. Yes, Chair.
Allow me to defend the 2.1 and 3.3. Madam Speaker.
You will defend that in the Budget Committee.
Allow me to give just this clarification, Madam Speaker, that UWEP is not only a money lender, but they have other activities according to the policy to monitor these groups, form them, train them so that they can get money. And so when you only pay salaries and you don't provide money for the CDOs to move for fuel, not salaries necessarily, they must monitor, they must train these groups and bring them on board for them to be supported with UWEP funds. And Madam Speaker, the 3.3 billion had earlier been budgeted for YLP staff and was scrapped. We are only reclaiming it, Madam Speaker, that the Secretariat of YLP also runs, and so that they can also recover, do their recoveries and their mandates as per policy, so that the programs can be seen running. We are not only paying salaries, but we need operations to mobilize and group these people.
What Honorable is raising is, are these people paid salaries? Are they civil servants? And if they are civil servants, they are paid salary. Why would you pay somebody money to go to the field? Why would you spend a 2 point something instead of giving that money to the women to use? You're paying again people who are earning salary. Eh? Let's have that money given to the women to do their work. Yes.
Clarification, Madam Speaker.
Yes, further clarification.
Madam Speaker, it is perturbing for the report that the Chair of Gender is reading to the August House. Whereas all the development of a home bases on a woman, the committee gets money for WEP to put in the parish development model that has already died at initiation. Because the parish development model has almost the same principles like Emioga, which is making Ugandans cry day and night. The fact women are crying, Madam Speaker, where some of us come from, because those who borrowed Emioga money, the men have run away from homes. There is no giving birth. Now, how do you take the women's money? What have the women of this country done to us that we take only their money that we are getting? Why really? And really, Madam Speaker, the Prime Minister should tell us, why do they begin fake programs in the cabinet and don't tell us? Because as I talk now, I am the only member of Parliament. For Busia municipality, there is nobody in the 11th Parliament. But I don't know anything concerning the parish development model. And you are taking the money for the women. What do you want the women of Busia to do? Where do you want them to go? Moreover, they gave NRM 90% of the votes. Is that the way you are paying them?
Honorable,
this is very unfair to the women of Uganda.
Honorable, we can't say they are fake programs. These are government programs. All we need is to have information about the program. We need information. We need the guidelines. We need the policy. What is our involvement as members of Parliament? How do we come in? Tomorrow you're going to fail in your constituency because you've not been involved. And this is the same thing that happened with the Mioga. Lutamaguzi? You're all on clarification.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. For the record, my name is Wakore Simon Peter. I represent the people of Achua constituency in this Parliament. Madam Speaker, we need not to deceive ourselves. As a matter of fact, all the three concepts of the Youth Livelihood Program, the WAPE, and Parish Development Model, they cannot meet at any given moment. They cannot meet. When they meet, I believe they can start fighting among themselves. The clarification I was seeking, Madam Right Honourable Speaker, is we heard clearly from the Minister for Gender that in the first draft that they sent for the budget, the money of a wife was intact, nobody touched. But in the second discussion now, the Ministry of Finance scrapped everything. I believe the Ministry of Gender were not even consulted. Are we going to move in that same line as the country? I see a big challenge with the Ministry of Finance. The clarification wanted. Was there a formal discussion, Madam Minister, in that regards before it was cut away from your vision as the ministry? I submit.
Honorable Prime Minister, can we have the Minister of Finance here tomorrow to explain about our WEP money? We want our WEP money.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I thank you so much. I'm going to inform the Minister for Finance to come here and explain about that money. But secondly, I want also to inform this House that the guidelines for the parish development model and the regulations are with the Attorney General. So he is going to bring them here to Parliament so that members of Parliament are on board in as far as the parish development model is concerned.
Order, Madam Speaker. Order. Order, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Prime Minister, yesterday,
Order, Madam Speaker.
Yesterday the Prime Minister made a commitment that today before the debate, they will have laid the policies and the guidelines on the floor. Now you're contradicting within yourselves. How do you want me to help you?
Right, Honorable, that's why I'm saying...
Anyway, Attorney General is here. Attorney General.
Yeah, it's good that he has come. That's why I was saying that we pledged that we are going to bring them here to Parliament. I was just confirming what was said yesterday.
Attorney General,
he's here, let him say something.
He's laying the documents.
Madam Speaker, I must confess I was taken by surprise. We have been working on the guidelines and we are ready. Let me liaise with my office and see if we can lay them today.
Honorable members, Ross, there was a clarification from Ross also.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I remember there was a date scheduled for us to understand what parish model is. I think it's giving birth to a premature to start picking money from WEP whose impact is felt in the community. I don't think when you want to give birth to a new baby, then you sit on the older baby. This is the only child, the only thing women have in their hands. Now, you want to suffocate it. I really think, Honorable Minister, and as a woman, a colleague woman, should really come back and understand this is the only thing I feel in Terrigo. I get information.
Thank you.
So therefore, we are not really accepting that this money should just be shifted like this. When we don't even know what your parish module is, the guideline is in total confusion and in a mess. So bring the documents and that will take us
Honorable
to the next
Minister,
level.
don't kill the old baby to conceive a new one. Don't kill the old one. Better the devil you know than the angel you don't know. Agnes, Luther, and then a minister. Agnes, Luther.
Thank you, Madam
Agnes.
Speaker.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I wish to join my colleagues in the quest for reservation of the money for UWEP. However, Madam Speaker, I'd like to join the chairperson on the issue of facilitation in the form of fuel to community development workers, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, every sub-county in this country has only one CDO. And that sub-county has a minimum of 6 villages. Minimum. I'm not saying that's the maximum, but a minimum. But some have 10, others 12, others like that. I am saying a minimum. And we have one CDO.
Honorable members, listen.
We have one CDO to run through, Madam Speaker. in my view, one of the reasons as to why we have had certain programs fail to go through is the failure to facilitate the social workers who have the know-how to talk to the adults that we would like to change. They cannot run through sub-counties using their salary. Salary is something paid to somebody for their work. It is supposed to facilitate their family issues and personal issues that touch them. These people need fuel, honorable members, right? Honorable colleagues, if we don't facilitate social workers, even the PDM that they are talking about, which we have not yet conceptualized, will fail. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, Lutamaguzi, Commissioner, you have something? Procedure.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I rise on a procedure matter. You have just asked the Prime Minister to bring here, tell the Minister of Finance, direct the Minister of Finance to come here and tell us about the money for WEP. However, Right Honourable Speaker, the Minister of Finance is on record. The whole of this week, the Minister of Finance has been on radios, televisions, telling people that he will not listen to Parliament and he is not willing to be guided and directed by Parliament. Would it be procedurally right for the Prime Minister tell the same person to come and present to us without apologizing first for bashing us as Parliament, because we were just inquiring about the coffee agreement, and he's busy bashing out every member of Parliament who tries to talk and says he will not listen to Parliament, and Parliament cannot get directives to direct the minister. So would it be procedure right, Honorable Prime Minister, for you to prevail over your minister, not to bash Parliament?
Honorable members, we have a report. We have 10 reports today. Is what you're saying true? Do you have evidence to that effect?
Right, Honourable Speaker, when you give me leave, I will go and pick all these recordings. And then
Can we have evidence to what you're saying? Because whatever you're saying now is a hearsay.
Right, Honourable, it is not a hearsay because it is on all media houses.
Give us, lay on table the evidence. I'm giving you leave, lay on table, and then we will take appropriate
Much
action.
obliged, Right, Honourable. I will come and lay.
There is nobody who has a right to come to start abusing this Parliament. It is only in this Parliament where we can make decisions, whether they are good or bad. So nobody will do it. Bring evidence and then we shall take an action on the person who is abusing the House. Honorable members, you've talked about the women. Yes. Lutamaguzi, then the minister.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Right Honourable Speaker, Parliament worked very hard to ensure that we pass the minimum wage bill. And everyone in Uganda, including my constituents of Nakaseke South, where I come from, was very happy. But again, when this minimum wage bill was returned to Parliament, there has been a lot of silence. I wanted to know from government, what are those key salient issues which the President pointed out that stopped him from assenting to that bill, such that, Madam Speaker, they should be worked on quickly.
Which bill?
Minimum wage bill, Madam Speaker. Want to know those key salient issues which the President noted that stopped him from assenting to it, such that they should be worked on quickly to ensure that at least Ugandans can be proud of what we're doing as members of Parliament. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The delay on that bill is not on the President. The delay goes to Attorney General's chambers. It was not the President. the President had not received the bill until last week. So it is not the President to blame, it is the Attorney General's chambers. Infima.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, people have discussed issues of women, but now I want to bring on the floor of Parliament issues of persons with disability. Right Honorable Speaker, this Parliament works through committees, and as person with disability representative, we went through the Gender Committee, and we got allocation for things to help persons with disability in this country, and we went in the Budget Committee. The Budget Committee agreed with us, but when finally Finance came out with the document, all our things, most of our things were removed from the budget. I know yesterday, Right Honorable Speaker, you guided that we may not discuss those things here, but I want you to direct the Committee of Budget to listen to us when we go there to present issues of persons with disability. Right Honorable Speaker, our people are suffering. They don't have mobility appliances. Children are suffering in the rehabilitation centers. There is no money allocated to those children in the centers, and so many other things. So I request Right Honorable Speaker to direct the Committee of Budget that when time comes for us to go there, they listen to us, and at least we get something to help persons with disability in this country.
Thank you. Budget should listen to people with a disability, and is also included in the report, so that will be attended to. Honorable Minister, briefly.
Right Honorable Speaker, on the issue of cost, which the members raised, administrative cost, I think that is part of the reason why Cabinet instructed that we have a lean structure, because under WEP, we are not using Government of Uganda staff. Because it started as a project, both YLP and WEP has staff recruited outside government structure, and they are paid different scale. For instance, a manager earns 11 point something million, and it goes down up to a senior person up to 5 million, then the rest are paid according to the original donors. But donors have left. I've heard the concern of Parliament. It's the same concern of Cabinet. We will assess, but I think the most important issue here that members have raised is how to facilitate the CDOs more, because they're the ones on the ground, they're the ones who are doing the work, they're the ones who are generating the projects, and if the committee or Parliament reinstate back the 32 billion, then we will come back and brief on the issue and how we have handled it. On SAGE, the arrears of 26.7 billion still stands, and I hope that arrears Parliament will handle. On labor externalization, we had proposed that we require labor touches in some of the countries that have a lot of complaints. If we don't have labor touches, if we don't have a framework for monitoring, it becomes difficult, because most of the countries like Philippines, Lebanese and all that, when I visited these countries, they have a fully fledged offices besides their embassies who have a 24-hour call center in those countries to receive the issues from their distressed migrant workers, liaise with the ministry responsible for labor and our ministry of, and at the embassies, and quickly make those companies that have externalized the migrant workers to handle it quickly. So we had asked for 5 billion to have at least start with Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and Qatar, but that money has not been provided. So it means...
Honorable Minister, you want to attach those people without amending the law? You'll be acting under which law?
The labor laws and policies and regulations was approved by this parliament, so it covers those ones.
That requires
And
you
the
to
regulations.
attach
Yes.
your workers in another country?
To attach them under our embassy. It is provided for in the regulation. Even the charge of $30, which is being collected in the consolidated fund, it is there. So that, and the monitoring aspect, which is through application and others. On the issue of, I think, the copyright bill, we have started consultation on the copyright bill and all the attendant issues of copyright, and we will have a more elaborate explanation later. I think, Right Honorable, on the issue of persons with disability, street children, and labor industrial courts, I request that the committee report be adopted, because then it will allow us to solve most of the issues related to labor disputes, compensation of workers, and the rest of the issues. And on youth unemployment, some of the programs that we have proposed, which is captured in the committee report, for example, the apprenticeship, graduate scheme and apprenticeship will address the youth unemployment, because that program allows those who have graduated to be placed in all the MDAs in the government as trainees and volunteers, but paid by the ministry through this program. And in most cases, the pilot which we did with UNDP, most of those who have been placed as volunteers and we pay them under this program have ended up retaining their jobs. So with that and the green jobs, we will be able to substantially deal with that. I want to thank you, Right Honorable.
Thank you so much, members. The the money for facilitation that is supposed to be given, analysis must be made first to determine whether these are civil servants that are getting salary or not. Short of that, that money should not be released, since they are being paid salary. I now put a question that the report of the Committee of Gender, Labor and Social Development be adopted with amendment, that must be determined first. Those unweb should be retained. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay. The ayes have it. Legal.
Motion for adoption of the report of the Committee on Legal and Parliamentary Affairs on the Ministerial Policy Statements and Budget Estimates for the financial year 2022-2023.
Now that one we only need a brief summary, not a...
Madam Speaker, thank you for giving me the opportunity to present on behalf of the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee. I would like, before I begin, to lay on table a copy of the report and our minutes.
Thank you.
I beg to lay. Madam Speaker, I would like to thank the members of my committee for supporting me in coming up with this report, and they are present here in the House. I would request them to stand up for recognition. Thank you very much. Those are the able members of the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee. This is a report of the Committee on Legal and Parliamentary Affairs on the Ministerial Policy Statements and Budget Estimates for the financial year 2022-23.
Honorable members, when they finish your report, kindly don't go. Wait for other reports. Wait for other reports. We've passed yours, you should also wait for others.
We are considering policy statements for the following votes. Vote 007, Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. Vote 133, Directorate of Public Prosecutions. Vote 102, Electoral Commission. Vote 105, Uganda Law Reform Commission. Vote 104, Parliamentary Commission. Vote 101, the Judiciary. Vote 148, Judicial Service Commission. Vote 109, Law Development Center. Vote 106, Uganda Human Rights Commission. Vote 103, Inspectorate of Government, and vote 119, Uganda Registration Services Bureau. I'll tackle each institution with the recommendations that we made. Judiciary, the committee commends government for clearing the arrears stocks in the judiciary. In future, any contravention of the commitment control system to increase the stock of arrears should be borne by the institution's budget. That was on domestic arrears. On construction of the Supreme Court, Court of Appeal and High Court, the committee recommends that in future the judiciary prepares for implementation of projects before budgeting for them to avoid making resources which could have been utilized for other critical requirements redundant. Case backlog in the judiciary, the committee recommends that the judiciary develops a client charter, strengthens the inspectorate function, and performance assessment tools for judicial officers. Construction of court buildings, the committee recommends that the judiciary be provided an additional Uganda shillings to 23.71 billion to undertake the construction of courts in the above mentioned magisterial areas. The magisterial areas were many. Mbara, Gulu, Mbende, Tororo, Kira, Oyam, Nakapiripirit, Kabong, Aduku, Kalaki, Chazanga, and 5 institutional houses in hard-to-reach areas. Renovation of court buildings. The committee recommends that an additional Uganda shillings 1 billion be provided to the judiciary to renovate various courts across the country. Retirement benefits for judicial officers and non-judicial officers. The committee recommends that the judiciary be provided with an additional 5.3 billion to pay retirement benefits to judicial and non-judicial officers. Medical expenses, the committee recommends that the judiciary be provided with an additional amount of Uganda shillings 5.25 billion to enable it to fulfill its obligations of meeting medical bills for its staff. Gender compliance, the judiciary should prioritize gender mainstreaming in its activities and make provision of breastfeeding children rooms in the court premises. I now go on to LDC, Law Development Center. For Law Development Center, on the construction of the multi-storied building, the committee recommends that Uganda shillings 3.2 billion be reallocated to its unfunded recurrent activities to avoid redundancy of funds for yet another year. The committee recommends that Law Development Center should expedite fulfilling all the conditions so that the project can be provided with a development project code and financing to avoid any further delay. Allowances for staff of Lira campus. The committee recommends that LDC be provided with an additional Uganda shillings 2 billion to cater for allowances of part-time staff of Lira campus. Legal aid services, the committee recommends an additional 1 billion to LDC to facilitate legal aid services. Gender compliance, the committee recommends that LDC expedites the implementation of the gender policy at the workplace and also set up sign language services and visual impairment aids for persons with disabilities. Now, Law Reform Commission. On its budget performance, the committee recommends that for 2021-22, committee recommends that Uganda Law Reform Commission expedites recruitment to fill vacant positions in order to utilize the wage budget and operate optimally. On poor performance of non-wage, the committee recommends that Uganda Law Reform Commission expedites the proofreading exercise so as to utilize the funds for printing before the financial year ends. On the ban on recruitment due to proposed rationalization, the committee recommends that government expedites the rationalization process so as to pave way for filling of some critical positions. Uganda Law Reform Commission should also seek guidance from the Ministry of Public Service on filling critical positions in the Commission so as to optimize its budget. On parallel law reform processes and initiatives, the committee recommends that the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs streamlines the law reform process, taking into account the mandate of Uganda Law Reform Commission to avoid duplication of duties and wastage of resources. Transport equipment, the committee recommends that this be prioritized for the subsequent financial year due to budgetary constraints. On gender compliance, the committee recommends that Uganda Law Reform Commission continues mainstreaming gender and equity in all new legislation and fully implements the gender mainstreaming guidelines that were developed. Uganda Electoral Commission. On the budget absorption challenge for financial year 21-22, the committee recommends that the Commission should adhere to its work plan to avoid absorption challenges. On arrears, the committee recommends that the Ministry of Finance takes up the matter to have the penalty of 2.744 billion waived. In addition, the committee recommends that for future occurrences, the persons responsible be held accountable for their omissions or commissions that give rise to penal tax. On relocation to new headquarter offices, the committee recommends that the Inspector General of Government expedites the investigation to pave way for relocation of Electoral Commission to the new headquarter offices. On the general election activities, the committee recommends the provision of an additional Uganda shillings 72.69 billion to the Electoral Commission to enable it conduct elections as required by law. These are the ones for women councils and committees and the administrative units LC1 and LC2. Because the women councils should be by August this year and the LC1 and 2 should be by August next year. Outstanding wage bill, the committee recommends that the outstanding wage bill of Uganda shillings 11.17 billion be provided to the Electoral Commission. Operationalization of offices in 10 new cities and Terego district, the committee recommends the provision of Uganda shillings 7.26 billion to operationalize offices in 10 new cities and Terego district during financial year 2022-23. Transfer to political parties, the committee recommends that Uganda shillings 35 billion be provided. Gender compliance, the committee recommends that efforts should be explored by the EC to target all eligible voters of various categories currently to exercise their right to participate in elections. The Parliamentary Commission, audit committees should be supported in the disposal of all audit reports in a timely manner, and Parliament should prioritize debate of audit committee reports and other statutory reports as provided for in the various laws and rules of procedure. Technical departments be provided with adequate resources to improve their respective capacities in scrutinizing statutory reports. This will enable them to provide adequate support to committees to expeditiously handle all reports. Government should provide sufficient funding for committee activities to enable them to scrutinize and dispose of statutory reports in a timely manner. On law absorption under the development budget, committee recommends that Commission should expedite the completion of the new chambers to enable members of the 11th Parliament acquire sufficient office space and improve the working environment. The Parliamentary Commission should review the performance of the contractor with a view of terminating the contract. Poor physical performance, the committee recommends that government avail sufficient funds to the Commission and later prioritizes allocation of resources to the committee activities so as to improve Parliament's performances related to the oversight role. The committee has also made recommendations regarding wage and non-wage. On gender compliance, the committee recommends Parliamentary Commission's efforts of addressing representation related to older persons and persons with disabilities. Registration Services Bureau, on budget performance, the committee commends Uganda Registration Services Bureau's NTR performance, the non-tax revenue performance, and recommends that URSB refocuses its strategies on online registration, business processes and other services to reach out to various stakeholders. On the development and upgrade of ICT systems for an all-online system, The committee recommends that shillings 1 billion be provided to URSB to develop and upgrade its ICT system for all online systems. Rent arrears, the committee recommends a provision of Uganda shillings 3.9 billion to URSB to settle its rent arrears. Operationalization of 2 regional offices in the Albertine and Eastern Uganda, the committee recommends that Uganda shillings 0.8 billion in financial year 2022-23 be provided to enable the Bureau roll out the planned 2 one-stop shops stroke centers in the Albertine and Eastern Uganda in order to take services closer to the people as well as boost business in the area. Mass business registration, the committee recommends an additional amount of Uganda shillings 6.2 billion to be provided to URSB during financial year 2022-23 to activate its potential of NTR mobilization. Short-term consultancy, that's ISO. The committee recommends the provision of Uganda shillings 0.32 billion to URSB to facilitate acquisition of ISO certification. Gender compliance, government should expedite regulatory, legal and policy reforms geared towards achieving equity in accessing services provided by the Bureau. In addition, URSB should develop alternative access mechanisms for its services to target persons with disabilities. Inspectorate of Government, IG. On the low absorption of development budget, the committee recommends that IG expedites the construction of its headquarters as per the procurement plan. On prosecution of corruption cases and civil litigation, the committee notes that the cost of corruption in Uganda is estimated at Uganda 2,000 billion annually, and with adequate funding, at least Uganda shillings 200 billion can be recovered out of the 5,000 cases under investigation. Mainstreaming of transparency, accountability, and anti-corruption in projects. The committee recommends that the Inspector General the Inspectorate of Government be provided with additional Uganda shillings 4.48 billion to mainstream TAC in line with NDP strategic interventions. Capacity building of IG staff to fight corruption and maladministration in the public sector. The committee recommends that the IG be provided with additional 0.63 billion to facilitate capacity building of IG staff in fighting corruption and maladministration in the public sector. Gender compliance, the committee recommends that IG strengthens efforts in holding high-level corrupt officials accountable. Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, on poor budgetary performance, the committee recommends, that's for 2021-22, that the ministry adheres to the work plan to avoid delays in planned deliverables and poor budget performance. On budget strategy for financial year 2022-23, payment of the outstanding court awards and court arrears, the committee recommends that government prioritizes payments of court awards and court arrears to reduce the principal amounts that attract interest by providing the remaining amount of Uganda shillings 213.13 billion. On cattle compensation to war date claimants, the committee recommends that Uganda shillings 200 billion be provided to cater for all war date claimants in the sub-regions of Teso, Acholi, and Lango. Government should expedite verification of war date claimants in West Nile, Bukedi, Karamoja, and Busoga. Government should holistically consider compensating war date claimants in other regions. Implementing the new structure, the committee recommends that the ministry should be provided with Uganda shillings 1.9 billion to fill in the vacant positions to bridge the staffing gaps and also reduce the pressure created by increased judicial areas as a result of operationalization of the Administration of Judiciary Act 2020. Reparations to DR Congo, the committee recommends that the ministry be provided with an additional Uganda shillings 31 billion to pay the entire US $65 million and avoid a possible liability of 6% interest for failure to pay the full figure. In light of the good working relationship between the two countries, government should pursue a waiver or reduction on the amount. On gender compliance, the committee recommends that the ministry incorporates gender and equity issues in the execution of their mandate with a view of addressing concerns of vulnerable persons. Uganda Human Rights Commission on budget performance for financial year 2021-22, low absorption of the recurrent budget. The committee recommends that government should fully constitute the commission to enable it fulfill its constitutional mandate. Budget strategy for 2022-23, salary enhancement of staff. The committee recommends that government provides 11.75 billion Uganda shillings as an additional wage bill for Uganda Human Rights Commission for financial year 2022-23. Wage-related expenses. The committee recommends that Uganda Human Rights Commission be provided with Uganda shillings 2.70 billion for wage-related expenses and also cater for arrears accrued on NSSF gratuity and allowances. Vehicles and transport machinery. The committee recommends that a provision of Uganda shillings 2.29 billion in financial year 2022-23 recommends a provision of Uganda shillings 2.29 billion in financial year 2022-23 to procure vehicles, including double cabins, station wagons, and civic education vans. Civic education and human rights awareness. The committee recommends an additional amount of Uganda shillings 16.04 billion to the non-wage recurrent during the financial year 2022-23 to undertake countrywide sensitization campaigns on protection and promotion of human rights. On gender compliance, government should prioritize increasing the budget allocations to UHRC to enable it execute its mandate effectively. In addition, UHRC should expedite investigations before them to provide justice to victims of human rights abuses. Judicial Service Commission. On the budget performance for financial year 2021-22 public complaint system, the committee recommends that government should initiate amendments to the Constitution to provide for permanent members of the Commission. The committee further recommends that government should provide the Judicial Service Commission with resources so as to meet its expanded mandate in light of the Administration of Judiciary Act 220. Budget strategy for financial year 2022-23. On wage, the committee recommends that the Commission be provided with additional wage of Uganda shillings 0.49 billion to operationalize the new structure. Procurement of transport equipment. The committee recommends that the development budget for Judicial Service Commission be adjusted upwards by Uganda shillings 8.2 billion to enable it procure vehicles in financial year 2022-23. Procurement of furniture. The committee recommends an additional Uganda shillings 1.4 billion be provided in financial year 2022-23 for purchase of furniture. Implementation of the expanded mandate. The committee recommends that Judicial Service Commission be provided with Uganda shillings 3.5 billion to facilitate recruitment of judicial officers and non-judicial staff of the Judiciary. Gender compliance. The committee recommends that Judicial Service Commission should expedite recruitment processes of more judicial officers since it facilitates increased access to justice. DPP. On budget performance for financial year 2021, prosecution-led investigations in gender, children, and sexual offenses. The committee recommends that ODPP, that's the Office of the Directorate of Public Prosecutions, expedites the recruitment of staff to fill the existing vacancies so as to optimally function with the aim of reducing the length of time on investigations of these crimes. On sanctioning files for torture victims, the committee recommends that ODPP should stop henceforth the prosecution of victims whose rights have been abused. Prosecution of cases whose investigations are ongoing. The committee recommends that ODPP should prosecute cases whose investigations are thoroughly done and complete. Budget strategy for financial year 2022-23, salary enhancement. The committee recommends that HE, the President's directives, be operationalized and Uganda shillings 51.2 billion be provided to the Office of the DPP to enhance staff salaries. Transport equipment. The committee recommends that Uganda shillings 22.4 billion be provided to the Office of the DPP during financial year 2022-23 to procure transport equipment. Security needs for staff and property. The committee recommends an additional Uganda shillings 1.2 billion to ODPP to provide for security for its staff and property. In conclusion, Right Honourable Speaker, Honourable Members, the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee appreciates the fact that the institutions under it are very critical in achieving a just and equitable society. During the presentation of the ministerial policy statements, there was a shared concern that these institutions should continue to attract very limited funding, which has made it extremely difficult to attain their respective mandates. The budget strategy for financial year 2022-23 will only be achieved if the above institutions are supported in the execution of their mandates. Right Honourable Speaker, Honourable Members, in light of the above, it's my prayer and the prayer of the committee that this House adopts its report and approves the budget estimates that incorporate the committee's recommendations for the respective votes for financial year 2022-23, and the summary is as contained in the uploaded reports. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to present.
Thank you so much, Chairperson of Legal and Parliamentary Affairs and the committee for the good work you've done. And the report is very clear and due for adoption. I now put a question that the Committee of Legal and Parliamentary Affairs be adopted by this House. Those in favor say aye, to the contrary nay. The ayes have it. Honourable members, we have these committees: Public Service and Local Government, Fiscal Infrastructure, Defence and Internal Affairs, Agriculture, Health, Finance and Education. They are supposed to present this afternoon. I am suspending a House for 30 minutes, and when we come back, they will present according to how I've read them. Thank you.
COVID-19 is still here with us. As Professor Maggie Chigozi states, the time is now for all of us to get vaccinated.
When we have one person who's not vaccinated, it affects everybody around them, most especially the ones close to you. Keep your families safe. Anyone right now who's over 18 should go and get vaccinated.
Because of the new COVID-19 circulating variants like Omicron, it is very important for all of us to be fully vaccinated with 2 doses of the same vaccine type. It's only those getting Johnson & Johnson who receive only a single dose to be fully protected.
Even after vaccination, continue to adhere to all SOPs by wearing a mask properly, covering your mouth and nose, washing your hands regularly with soap and clean water, or using an alcohol-based sanitizer, maintaining physical distance of at least 2 meters from others, and avoiding crowds. Echa COVID-19, chija kugwa. This message is from the Ministry of Health with support from UNICEF and partners.
We bring you a fresh, well-researched program to help you identify opportunities for investment, job creation, growing your entrepreneurial skills, wealth creation, and social transformation.
We have a product that is ready for schools, supermarkets.
Create wealth, transform livelihoods. Every week, we showcase opportunities for creating new products and services.
I now harvest a lot of cocoa. When I harvest it, I sell. After selling, I put money in my project. I have 2 projects. 1 is for construction of my house, 2 is for educating my children.
Excellence in innovation, the passion and drive to succeed. and the right mindset to grow your business. Create wealth, transform livelihoods. Brought to you by Operation Wealth Creation.
Football packages, great entertainment, sports, the local content, telenovela, the movies. There is something for everybody. Everybody, Go TV. This is where great stories live.
Get the best entertainment for any budget. With GoTV, you will have great entertainment for as little as 13,000 Uganda shillings per month. GoTV, great stories, Zidiwano. GoTV Uganda, love it.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Why do we fast as Muslims? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is our creator. He knows how our bodies function. He knows what's good for us, and He knows better what's better for us. So we do fast, specifically the holy month of Ramadan, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is busy granting us discipline in line with our eating habits. One of the reasons to why we consider fasting, one, is for us to revise our eating habits as Muslims. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam already guided us that as you're breaking your fasting, it's sunnah to break your fast with a glass of water and maybe with dates. Nutrition-wise, it's just perfect for you to do that. And also, as you fast, it helps you to do away, to get rid of the excessive fats from your body. So as you're fasting, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala designed our bodies that they do attain energy from what we eat. So if at all you're fasting, of course you're not eating anything. That's why the body changes the system to utilizing the fats within your body. And so as a result, you're going to get energy from the same very fats of the body. So that's why as you're fasting, you're basically doing away with blood pressure diseases, heart diseases, mention any that you know. So if you're asked today, why do you consider fasting the holy month of Ramadan, or maybe even fasting the optional kind of fasting, smartly and confidently say out that you really need to be healthy. That's why you consider and maybe observe fasting. We fast as Muslims because we need to be more healthy, and we fast because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who created our bodies, He knows that fasting is better in line with being more healthy. Wa barakallahu fikum. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Brought to you by UBC TV and Star TV in partnership with Umka Foundation, Ummah Muslim Convertibility.
My name is Jamali Sali and I welcome you to this episode of the Ideation Corner. The Ideation Corner is a space where ideas are discussed and dissected. And today I host Halima Bukira. Halima is the student lead of the Makerere University Google Developers Student Club, and she is going to tell us all about it. Halima, you're very welcome.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. I've always wanted to be here.
You always you demanded to be in the Ideation Corner.
Yes. I'm glad to be hosted.
That's good. So tell us about the Google Developer Students Club. What is that?
The Google Developer Student Clubs, they are student-based community groups for developers, people that are interested in learning Google developer technologies. For as long as you're interested, regardless of whether you're from a tech or an tech background,
so if I'm doing Bachelor of Arts, I can still come.
Exactly, because now tech is evolving and it's in every part, in every field. People require websites right now for their businesses, data science for every venture, like all those things. we teach. And so anyone and everyone that is interested in learning tech is invited.
So what exactly is it? If Google Developer Student Club, what is it that you guys do?
Oh, so we are required to have a lead, of course.
And you're the lead?
I'm the lead for Macquarie University. And you become a lead, and then you choose a core team, people that you're going to be doing this with, organizing the events. So on my core team, I have people that are doing events and planning, people that are doing marketing and PR, and the tech leads, people that know tech. So I have one for the Android track, a cloud track, and web track. So we organize events.
So as a student, you're in charge. You're like the CEO of the Google Developer Student Club.
In my university.
In Macquarie University.
Yes.
How many, are there other universities that are part of this?
Yeah, in Uganda, we have 14 chapters, 14 universities that have this, but they're in 106 countries.
Okay.
And over 1,250 of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in Uganda, you're one of the leaders in the university.
Yes.
You're kind of like a CEO.
Yes.
Because the way you described it, you have your person in charge of events, in charge of tech, the training, and everything.
Everything.
And you do this. How do you get that position? Because I'm glad that you're female. You're leading this in tech, and it's Macquarie University. It's, one of the biggest universities in the country. How do you become the lead?
So we apply.
Okay.
Yeah, Google. Yes, we apply to Google. And so based on how competent you are, the leadership skills that you have, the tech skills you have, how many projects you've worked on, how many community developer communities you have been part of, and what you have been able to do. So that's what they base on to put you as lead, because you need to have knowledge about these technologies, and you need to have projects that you have done in these technologies. You need to have the leadership skills. Have you organized events before? Which events and what were you doing? All those things are, and remember, it was my second time to apply. The first time they didn't require us to record, so this time around they want us to record a 1-minute video. Okay. Like telling the world what we have done and why we should be leads.
The lead.
So we recorded ourselves and we had to upload them on YouTube and send them the links, all those things.
So your pitch is out there publicly?
Yes.
It's incredible. The fact that they want you to put it out there publicly before they even give you anything.
Yes.
Okay, so it's online. Is it all online, this application process?
It's all online.
You have to do it online?
Yes.
And then you send them the link to your pitch?
Yes.
And then do they call you for an interview?
Yes, when you are shortlisted, they send you an email to prepare for the interview. So they give you like their full schedule, calendar schedule. So you choose which spot that you want the person to interview you. I was interviewed by an Indian. So the interview based on what you actually filled in.
Okay.
To confirm whether
that
it is you, and what you wrote is actually
what you can say.
Exactly, what you can say.
Okay. So do you know how many people you were competing with? How many applied?
Before, like last year, because this was my second time applying, I applied together with, I think, 6 more, and they were all so good. Now I know why I didn't go through, because they were all so good, very, very good. And this time around we were 2. I think because what should I call it? The passion went down, because usually when you lead, we have the handover ceremony happens somewhere else, because they fly us out to go for the handover.
Oh, really?
Yes, so I think.
And this time, because of COVID,
nothing happened for the previous chapter, so I think people didn't come out because it's not the bit of flying out. But me, I was interested in.
But it means you were really passionate about it. So if the others were applying for the packs of being the lead, so the things that come with being the lead, instead of yes, you're the lead, then they wouldn't apply again.
Yeah, I think that's why we were few this time around.
Okay.
Very few people that applied, because now because it was more about passion and wanting to help fellow students learn things.
When you applied, the schools were still closed down, right?
Yeah.
So how did you think that you're going to be a lead even when the schools are closed down?
They did ask all those things.
Okay.
Yeah, and we told them. I told them. They were like, "So how do you think you're going to lead this now? We are in the midst of the pandemic. So how do you think you're going to deliver?" I was like, we have social media. We are on social media, and we will try as much as we can to make sure we put the information across and get as many people to join as possible.
Okay. So you told me that, okay, now you're the lead. You're the lead from when?
From September this year.
Up to?
September next year.
And when now you're leading, and what exactly, if I'm listening to the discussion right now, and I am interested in tech, whether I know tech or not, you're telling me it doesn't matter as long as you're interested. What do I need to do to join?
First of all, I don't know whether you are a student or you.
Do you have to be a student?
No, you don't need to be a student. For as long as you can get attached to a certain community in that campus.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe you are in UCU, we have one in UCU, in MOBS, in MOOC, MAST, wherever you're, Muni University, all those universities have chapters. So if you know people there and you can be a part of the community, because now I'm sure most of those chapters are doing things online, because of course we are not allowed to have events like that are big, and such events can really bring so many numbers and people together, and because of the risk right now, security risk and all those things, they're limited. And so most of these events are online and you can always join.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I go online, then what? I just search Google Developer Student Club?
Yeah, Google Developer Student Clubs. And then you are given an option of the chapters. So you click on the chapters, they'll show you the ones in Asia, in Europe, Africa. So when you come to Africa, Makerere University will be there, like all the universities they'll show you, of course, countries. So Uganda, so Makerere University will be, and altogether with all the other chapters, so you can always join. When you click on that university, there is a link that says join, so you join, and so you're part of, you always get information whenever events are organized.
Okay.
Always get emails.
If now I join, say I go to Uganda, I pick Makerere University, and then I want to join, what happens next? And then I click join. What happens?
What happens? You will always be notified whenever we have an event, and so you can always join.
What happens in those events? What are you doing in the events themselves?
So before you join, when you join, they show you a number of events that we have had before and those that are upcoming. So of course, there's a in those events that we organize, there's always a description of what is going to be in that event, who are we bringing to speak to you, what you're going to be gaining. So when you join, you'll be getting the skills of what is going to be shared. Like, for example, if it's a web session or an Android session, and you can always give us feedback.
Okay.
How the event was, or what you are interested in learning, because of course we need as much feedback as possible to be able to organize these events well, like to organize them to bring what you want and not what we think you want.
What kind of trainings are you providing?
So they're usually info sessions. For example, if we know not everyone knows these things, so we first give you like an info session, like give you an introduction of what web is, what web development is, and so we take you through the hands-on practices. We share with you resources, mentorship opportunities. For example, if you are if you have a group, you're working on a project and you need someone to like walk with you the journey, we always give you mentors to help you be able to develop the best, to bring the best out of that project that you're working on. Okay. So yes, they're always, of course, you meet so many people. It's a networking opportunity to connect with other people that have the same mind as you, interested in learning and growing, connecting. So that we learn, connect, and grow.
Okay. So the bits you've mentioned, web development. What else? What are the other?
Android. For like developing Google for applications. Google for Android. Kotlin is a web. No, Kotlin, yes, it is a technology developed by Google for developers that want to develop mobile applications. Kotlin. There's also Flutter for web and developing both Android applications that work on Android and iOS. So there's also Firebase. Like there's so many Google technologies that are out there to help developers build better and faster.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you provide when I join, I join. When someone joins, I'm not joining. It's old. When someone joins, they'll be trained to be able to develop or to be able to develop things in these technologies.
Yes.
And they will really get the best training, you're telling me.
Yes, because we bring experts.
Okay.
Yeah.
And these are they Google experts who do the training?
Yes, most of them are Google experts, depending on the demand. Because, also Google wants us to, the way they organized it, they want it to be a peer-to-peer learning session. If there are students that know these things, of course it will be an opportunity for them to even learn more when they deliver these things to us. And also they learn more and also help other people learn. So if there is a student that knows these things and they want to bring it across to other students, then that is good. That is good enough, yeah.
So sometimes you may not even need a Google expert.
Exactly.
It may be a student in Macquarie University who knows these things, maybe they're self-taught, who are willing to teach.
Yes.
And then they then teach. But who certifies that, I may be interested in these things and I think I know, but who certifies that I actually know to be able to teach?
To be able to teach?
To be able to teach you guys, yes.
You need to see your work. But most of the people that you bring on board are, because there are so many developer groups across Uganda. There's Google developer groups. The one in Kampala. So they're led by people that actually know these things. And they have developed some of the best people that are in the world, in the tech world, like Andela, we know Innovation Village, we know there's so many, Outbox, EDU, like all those community groups, they help people that are interested in learning these things be able to learn them. And also, I think that's where I was actually nurtured. From being that.
Okay.
You
were in the groups?
Yes.
You were in the Google, developer groups.
Yes. that's how I actually made it to be a Google Developer Student Club's lead for Macquarie University, because I was part of most of these groups in Outbox. I used to always go there. There are also women communities like Witu Women in Technology Uganda.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know about that one.
There's so many, and so many of them online, like Code Queens, She Codes, so many of them that want to help women be able to learn these skills.
Okay.
Yes.
Because actually, that's why I found, be unique, because a lot of times women, we were trying to get more women in STEM anyway, because it makes sense. So I was, thrilled to see that you're the lead, you're female, you're doing your thing. So I was really happy about that. But then maybe my next question is, you told me about this Google challenge. What is it about?
The solution challenge.
Yes.
So Google always organizes these once a year because they always want us to develop projects, not only learn, but also put these skills to use. By developing projects, we work in teams of 4 and be able to develop a project that solves a local problem in our community. For example, I remember when you came to one of our sessions, when we hosted you for the ideation session, you talked about the problem of flooding in Kampala. So your team could be solving some of the problems that are visible to us, like that are really problems in your community, and they outline real problems like unemployment, yes, land grabbing, all those problems.
If it's a problem in your community,
yes. So develop solutions to problems that are diverse in the education sector, health sector, all those sectors, that solve problems and also align with the SDG goals.
Okay.
The UN Sustainable Development Goals.
Okay.
Like no poverty, zero hunger. There's so many of them. There are 17.
I always refer to them. Yeah, the SDG goals. You should read about them.
Yes.
Okay, so how do I go about that? Say you have to be in the Google Developer Student Club.
Yes. At least one of the members has to be part of this, of a community. Of a local chapter, a Google Developer Student Clubs chapter.
Okay.
I don't want to say MOOC because then you feel like
you're excluding. It's only So you just need to be a member of one of the universities that have a Google Developer Student Club.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
Then you join a team. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Walk me through that.
So when you join a team, it has to be a team of 4. It's good when there's gender balance to get 2 ladies.
Not good. It's a must. It should be a must.
It is a must. We want to see more ladies out there. So you have to be in a team of 4, and so develop a solution. Of course, when you are a part of this community, the good thing with it is that they give you help. You're not doing it all alone. They give you help. We provide you with mentors to help you, to guide you, to validate your solutions. Like, yeah, that's like it's all solving a problem and it's aligning with the SDG goals. And so when you join, the applications are going to be open starting January for the next solution challenge, starting January 2022.
Yeah, 2022. 2022. It sounds so strange, right?
Yes.
So next year?
Next year.
After next month, in Jan, they'll be open?
They'll be open. So you'll be required to register your projects, apply. So when you apply, they take you through. Yes, as the community, we also like give you help and everything, but also Google helps you, like helps you through your ideation sessions, like getting a team, how your team should be, and then starting to implement all your solutions. And your solutions you should implement your solutions with at least one of the Google developer technologies. Maybe use Flutter or Firebase, use Kotlin, all those technologies that are provided by Google. At least use one. Yes, so you at least use one. So, and of course, solve a problem in your community, align with the UN SDG goals. What else? Yeah. So you're in.